subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Is also very good. The ninja completely relies on chakra when fighting. Nothing can be done without chakra, and this armor is to defeat the opponent by absorbing the opponent's chakra by itself and weakening the opponent's strength. Someone is coming. Juma Lu stopped on the tree and took out his bone sword to prepare for battle. In Xiang also stopped on the tree, holding the queen he lay by his waist, and looked at the people running ahead. This person was carrying a person on his back. The ninja, who took Jasmine, and the three Gaara were stopped by his companions. Konoha ninja? This ninja saw In Xiang and the two parked on the tree, then turned around and ran. Forbearance. Luolei. In Xiang frowned and pulled out the queenie lace slightly. A thunderbolt fell from the sky and smashed in front of him, forcing him back. This is In Xiang's 3 months. It's time to learn the thunder falling sword technique. Run away when you see the enemy. Ninja of the country of craftsmanship. In Xiang said, standing on the spot, looking at the person in front of him. It was at this time that Naruto and others also arrived. Shikamaru and Ino arrived at Temari, and they rescued Temari, who almost died. Dingji and Naruto rushed to Kankuro in order to find Gaara. Tsu and Naruto also separated first and went after Gaara. They came from a different direction than In Xiang, so In Xiang and Jumalu met this person here. What do you want to do? The ninja looked at In Xiang and Jumalu and said, Allied nations of the Sand Kingdom, Konoha ninja, support. In Xiang said, and appeared next to this man's next moment, with lightning flashing on his body. This is to stimulate the cells with thunder chakra and improve his speed. What? The ninja's eyes widened, and next his head was separated from his body. Ninja. Thunder flash. In Xiang put away the knife. Juma Lu jumped over and hugged Jasmine, who was carrying him behind his back. I didn't expect the ninjas in the country of craftsmen to be so weak. In Xiang said, No, you are too strong. Juma Lu smiled. You are much stronger than 3 months ago. Really? In Xiang smiled and looked at Jasmine, who fainted in Juma Lu's hand. It was for this guy that Gaara chased after him. If it was the previous Gaara, he would definitely not. Take care of them. That's it. Kumaro looked up. Gaara raised him up on a high ground with sand padding under his feet and threw a ball in the air with sand. End of this chapter, Chapter 94, The Beginning of the Blast. Chapter 94, The Beginning of Shippuden. It's a complete advantage. I probably don't need our help. In Xiang looked up and said, After this ninja was killed by In Xiang, the enchantment that the 4 of them originally planned was no longer available. Their plan had completely failed, and all they had to do now was to defeat the 3 ninjas. This weapon looks good. Kumaro pulled out a sword from the back of the headless corpse, which glowed in the sunlight. Take it. Maybe you will like it every day, In Xiang said with a smile. Although Gaara is an advantage, let's hurry up and solve this matter as soon as possible. I haven't eaten since I woke up in the morning, In Xiang said, and took out a military ration pill and chewed in his mouth. Yes. Juma Lu nodded, carried Jasmine on his back, followed In Xiang, and quickly arrived at Gaara's side with the speed of the 2 of them. You? Gaara frowned when he saw Junmaru. Shouldn't this guy be dead? Kumalu is our partner now. Don't worry, In Xiang said to the fat man in front of Gaara, who was wearing the infinity armor. Really? Gaara nodded and jumped off the sand. Gaara. Naruto also jumped out of the woods and ran to Gaara's side. Naruto? Where's Dingxi? In Xiang frowned when he saw Naruto running. Dingji is helping Kankuro in front. Don't worry, everything will be fine. Naruto nodded and said, That's the ninja wearing the infinity armor frowned as he looked at Junmalu with the lightsaber in his hand. Kuinmaro looked back and then put Jasmine, who was holding her on the ground. You said this, it belongs to your comrade and is already dead. No wonder his expression became very ugly. No wonder the water veins have not been used until now. Water veins? In Xiang looked at the surrounding location. There are forests all around, but this one does not have too many trees, and it is a triangle shape with the other 3 battlefields. Is it an enchantment? Doesn't matter. You have failed. The ninja smashed at In Xiang with a big hammer in his hand. In Xiang raised the knife in his hand and blocked the hammer with the scabbard. Wind escape. Wind cut. Tossed the hammer away and used the wind cut. Finky hit him and knocked him out, but he didn't cut him in half as In Xiang imagined. It's useless. The armor of infinity can improve the defense. Absorb chakra. You can't kill me. He stood up and smiled at In Xiang. Improve the defense, right? In Xiang smiled. With a seal on his hand, Leaky. A ray of lightning swept across the eyes of everyone, and Leaky smashed directly on his infinity armor. The entire armor shattered directly, and with a touch, his whole body was blown into pieces of meat. You'd rather show me, In Xiang said coldly, looking at the piece of meat on the ground. At the same time, Shikamaru and Dingji have also resolved the battle. So far, these people have been killed. The battle is over. Shino also used bugs to spell out letters in the air, telling everyone that the battle was over. What these people rely on are only cutting tools. They have no strength, no matter how powerful the cutting tools are. It is useless. In Xiang picked up a fragment on the ground and said, I thought it was something, but it was just 4 clowns jumping on the beam, and they were so nervous. Jiuma Lu also said. After that, everyone gathered here in In Xiang. Gaara, Temari, Kankuro, In Xiang, Jumalu, Naruto, Dingji Shikamaru, Ino, Niji, Shino, Hinata, Sakura, and Gaara's disciple, Jasmine. 14 people gathered here. Anyway, thank you for your help. Gaara looked at In Xiang and said, small things, go home and eat. In Xiang said while rubbing his stomach. And not only In Xiang and others came, even Kakashi and Jirai were also nearby. It's finally here, but it's over. Kakashi said while standing on the tree. It seems that these immature little guys have grown up a little bit. Jiraiya walked over and said, you are really strict. Kakashi said to Jiraiya, and then the two left. After returning to Konoha, In Xiang finally got his wish to have breakfast. In the afternoon, Zillai also found Naruto and was about to start training Naruto. 2 days later, Naruto found In Xiang, said goodbye to In Xiang, and went out to practice for 2 years. You have to clean your room well before leaving, you know. In Xiang taught Naruto a lesson. I've cleaned it. Naruto shouted to In Xiang. That's it. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Naruto ran away and waved at In Xiangyong's back. Culture well, don't be lazy. Naruto. In Xiang shouted to Naruto's back. I see. You are so rude. Naruto also shouted back. Are you long-winded? In Xiang looked at Naruto's back and smiled bitterly. When Naruto comes back this time, he must recognize Naruto. Naruto not only said goodbye to In Xiang, but also said goodbye to many people. After eating ramen with Irika, he and Jiraiya went to the gate of Konoha. After that, In Xiang came to Tsunade's office. I'll give you 100% for this task. Speaking of which, your strength. My strength. In Xiang was stunned for a moment. Since you came back from the ruins of the Insolo family, your strength has been increasing in a straight line. Haven't you noticed? Tsunade looked at In Xiang and said, after I read the scrolls of the Insolo family, I learned a lot of wind and thunder ninjutsu. And then there's a sword technique, which is not only the sword technique, I learned the thunder chakra in it to stimulate the cells and increase the speed. Methods and more. In other words, your strength. It's joining, In Xiang said affirmatively, and at the same time looking straight at the Konoha gate from the Hokage building. Naruto and Jirai also stepped out of Konoha's gate. It's on, Blizzard. In Xiang said softly in his mouth. Then, starting from today, I officially accept your fate as Konoha Joinin, and at the same time become Hokage's direct subordinate Umbu. Stay with me. Tsunade looked at In Xiang and said, yes, Lord Hokage. In Xiang also became serious, not as senior sister, but Hokage. End of this chapter, Chapter 95. In Xiang and Tian Tian. Chapter 95. In Xiang and Tian Tian. After left the Hokage building, In Xiang went to Hondo and untied the spell on her body. Hondo was stunned. He didn't expect In Xiang to be able to do this. After dealing with things on the Red Bean side, In Xiang also went home. The next day, he changed into Umbu's equipment. wearing a black cloak and a black mask. The whole Umbu also wore a black mask. Mask. Hey, if you dress like this, you all know that you're In Xiang, Tsunade said. Looking at In Xiang, who was standing in front of him, he was still dressed in black as always, and there was a knife under the cloak. Can recognize this is In Xiang. It doesn't matter. People from other villages don't know each other anyway. In Xiang said under the mask, "You have become Umbu. You have to be more serious and stop making jokes." Tsunade said to In Xiang, Isa. In Xiang nodded. "And this is your partner in Umbu with you," Tsunade said to In Xiang, and then walked behind In Xiang, an Umbu wearing a white cloak, followed by 2 black cloaks Umbu. The general Umbu team is composed of 4 Umbu. The one with the white cloak is the team leader. In Xiang also knows this person. This person is the Umbu who stopped him from entering the 4 purple flames. In Xiang, an Umbu member behind him, waved to In Xiang, and In Xiang heard that his voice was Jiumalu. Jumalu, you kid, obviously joined Umbu, but you didn't tell me yesterday, but I told you. In Xiang said, "I don't want to surprise you." The mouth under the mask of Juanma, Lu smiled. "Since you have entered Umbu, you must use Umbu's codename. His codename is Bai, and your codename, just call Umbu." The captain of the Dark Army looked at In Xiang's black body and said to In Xiang, "This guy might be he's a good hand at Umbu." "Yes." In Xiang nodded. "When there is no mission, you still follow me to learn medical ninjutsu, you know?" Tsunade said to In Xiang. The next day will be In Xiang's life in the dark. Only when In Xiang and Jumalu come back home will they take off their masks. Umbu's life is not as dangerous as he imagined, but he is monitoring the corners of Konoha every day. Then In Xiang has been learning medical ninjutsu with Tsunade, and finally he has achieved some results in medical ninjutsu. There is only one thing that makes In Xiang headache, because he has become Umbu, so his contact with the second generation of Tian has become less and less, almost to none, so the relationship between the two has become less and less. Especially when In Xiang was transferred to the evening, he had no time to accompany Tian. So far, In Xiang has not seen Tian for 6 months. In the past 6 months, the semi-annual Chunin exam was also held. Although this Chunin exam was also obstructed, all the people who were in the same period as In Xiang, except Naruto, successfully became the Chunin exam. Shinobu, Niji also became Joinin because of his excellent performance in this exam. So Seimi, just give me a few days off, or Tian, and I will really be finished. In Xiang shouted to Tsunade, standing in front of Tsunade. I know. Tsunade waved his hand helplessly. After finishing this task, I will give you a vacation. Again, so many Umbu, you just call me. In Xiang said, dissatisfiedly. Tsunade has to let In Xianglai handle everything now, and he is almost the man Tsunade has used the most. Don't think about crooked. What mission is this time? In Xiang said to Tsunade, infiltrate the mission, infiltrate the country of honey by yourself, and solve the opponent's name. Tsunade said to the opposite sex. In Xiang was stunned for a moment. The country of honey? Big name? Isn't that Maheim's father? Why does he have such a mission? Didn't Tsunade know that the country of Miji was saved by himself? I know what you're thinking. Tsunade looked at In Xiang. The ninjas in the land of honey and the land of stuffing have always been shadows, and the senior management of the land of fire and the land of sand have to teach the 2 countries a lesson. The name of the country, Bai, is already gone, so the country of honey will be handed over to you, and you are familiar with it. I see. In Xiang took the task book. It's just this task. In Xiang sighed, and then disappeared in front of Tsunade. In Xiang left the Hokage building and was about to go home to pack up, but was stopped by someone while standing on the roof. In Xiang stopped on the roof. Tian jumped from the roof not far away to In Xiang's side. Have you changed the day's shift? Then why didn't you come to me? Tian shouted to In Xiang's back. I just changed the day's shift, and I didn't sleep last night. I came to see her specially. In Xiang turned around, but Tian interrupted before he finished speaking. Do you really not care about me at all? You haven't seen me for 6 months, so you don't want to say anything to me? Tian looked at Yin Xiang, and his words turned into tears. No, Tian. I don't think so. Yin Xiang quickly said to Tian, I will go to you every night, but you are sleeping, so I will not disturb you. Then what are you going to do now? Looking for me. Tian looked at Yin Xiang and said, Do the task. Yin Xiang raised the task book from under the cloak and told Tian the truth. Mission? It's another mission. I don't know how many times you used this kind of words to perfunctory me. You can't even come to accompany me on my birthday. Tian looked at the mission book in Yin Xiang's hand and shed it, overwhelmed by tears of grievance. Last time I happily went to Yin Xiang's house to find Yin Xiang and wanted to celebrate his birthday with Yin Xiang, but Yin Xiang left in a hurry with the task. At that time, Tian didn't know how lost it was. Although there were Niji and Xiaoli to accompany her on her birthday, Tian was still very sad, and he was never happy. Yin Xiang really had nothing to say. It was because of his task that he was delayed and celebrated his birthday every day, and it was also when he was transferred to the night shift after that day, because everyone felt that Ankh was very suitable for action at night. It was the first time I saw Tian since then. I am sorry, Tian, just do your task. Tian wiped the tears from his eyes and left quickly in front of Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang stretched out his hand to stop Tian, but saw the task book in his hand. Really? Yin Xiang held the task book in his hand fiercely and gritted his teeth. I will definitely find you after I finish the task, and ask for leave, Tian. Yin Xiang said in his mouth, and then left. In the world of quests are above all else. End of this chapter, Chapter 96, 2 Roadblocks. Chapter 96, 2 Roadblocks. After Yin Xiang packed up his things, he left the house, wearing Umbu's cloak of course. When he arrived in the woods at the gate of Konoha, suddenly a palm fell off Yin Xiang's head, causing Yin Xiang to go backwards. Jump to avoid the palm. Ningji? What are you doing? Yin Xiang fell to the ground. His face under the mask frowned at Ningzi. Ew, let Tian cry again. Ningzi looked at Yin Xiang and said, still ready to attack. Yin Xiang was stunned when he heard this. This guy actually still has Tian in his heart. Since when? Yes, it was that time. Yin Xiang remembered the last time when the 13 people had a dinner together. Niji looked at himself and Tian with an unnatural expression. He didn't speak much during the meal, and his eyes turned to himself and Tian from time to time. There is always a day in my heart. Looking back now, after everyone ate that meal together, Naruto left the village not long after, as if he was seeing off Naruto. Ningji, I have a task now, get out of the way. Yin Xiang said to Ningzi. If you don't give Tian an explanation, I will never let go. Gossip Chapter 64. Ningzi called Yin Xiang again and used Gossip Chapter 64. Yin Xiang's pupils shrank slightly under the mask, and there was no sign of it. Thinking of Niji being so serious. When Ningzi attacked, Yin Xiang raised a thunder tempering and blocked Ningxi's attack with the sharpened hilt. At the same time, he retreated step by step. The state also stopped in his hand, and then launched a more violent attack. Bagua. 128 palms. Really? Yin Xiang sighed, stimulated the cells with Lei Dun chakra, ran to a tree at once, and then ran away. If you can't take good care of Tian, then you will give Tian back to me. The blue veins next to Niji's eyes seemed to swell even more. Looking very angry, he chased after Yin Xiang. This guy, I never mentioned it in front of Tian. Why is this reaction now? Yin Xiang looked back at Ningji, who was catching up, and thought to himself, but his girlfriend was wrong by him. Other men ran out and made their first appearance. This plot is so familiar. Noble whirlwind. Just when Yin Xiang was thinking about something, he kicked his foot down in front of him. Yin Xiang quickly blocked it with the scabbard. Although the foot hit the scabbard, it still kicked Yin Xiang flying. After going out, Yin Xiang rolled twice in the air, then landed on the ground and drew a distance. Yin Xiang, how can you always bully Tian? Shaoli stood on the tree and shouted to Yin Xiang. Li. Yin Xiang looked up. Shaoli was standing on the tree. Ningzi was standing behind Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang was surrounded by these two people. Li, what are you doing here? Niji looked up at Xiao Li and asked. Good friends are always bullied. It's okay to be bullied once, but Tian Tian has not been wronged once or twice because of Yin Xiang. I have to help Tian Tian to let out my breath. Shaoli jumped down from the tree and looked at Yin Xiang in front of him, holding fists said, "One is because of friendship, the other is because of secret love." Yin Xiang looked at these two people and thought in his heart, these two guys are also quite strong now, although there is no Yin Xiang. But Yin Xiang also doesn't want to shoot at them. Tian Tian really does. Two good bodyguards. I have a mission now. If you keep entangled like this, I'm really welcome to you. Yin Xiang stood up straight from the ground and said to Ningxi and Shaoli, "Ningxi, don't interfere." Shaoli said to Ningxi, "I must take you back to apologize to Tian Tian." Shaoli shouted to Yin Xiang, then rushed towards Yin Xiang. "Konoha, power whirlwind." Shaoli quickly appeared in front of Yin Xiang's eyes and kicked Yin Xiang's head with one kick. Because Shaoli knows that to deal with Yin Xiang, he must not carry a load, and he must exert all his strength. Otherwise, he will not be able to hurt Yin Xiang, let alone take him to Tian Tian to apologize. "You're coming." Seeing Shao Li's speed and the use of a rigid whirlwind, Yin Xiang knew that this guy was also coming. So he quickly turned his body to avoid Shao Li's kick, and then grabbed Shao Li's ankle, threw Shao Li out, and Shao Li smashed into a tree. So he stepped on the tree and punched Yin Xiang again. Yin Xiang stretched out his hand to block Shao Li's punch, followed by more punches, all of which were blocked by Yin Xiang's palms of both hands. And then Shao Li also kicked out at Yin Xiang's waist. Yin Xiang blocked it with his arms with this kick. He was kicked out a distance. The 64 palms of 8 diagrams. When Yin Xiang was still in the air, Ningxi appeared behind Yin Xiang, facing Yin Xiang with 64 palms of 8 diagrams. "I can't dodge in the air." Yin Xiang stared at Ningxi with wide eyes. His hand was about to touch him. Even if he accelerated himself with Lei Dun, he couldn't dodge in the air. Flying Thunder God. In desperation, Yin Xiang used Flying Thunder God. A black flash flashed in front of Niji, and Yin Xiang appeared at the top of a tree. "I actually forced me to use Fei Lei Shan. These two guys, it's not just me who's grown up during this time." Yin Xiang breathed a sigh of relief under the mask. Chakra was consumed by his own people. "Ha ha. What are you doing, these two guys? Can you knock them out soon?" Yin Xiang's 9 tails also laughed loudly. "After all, they are here to get ahead every day, and I don't want to hurt them." "It's not as easy as you said," Yin Xiang said helplessly. "Konoha, a big whirlwind." Shaoli jumped up from the ground and kicked Yin Xiangdong, who was at the top of the tree. Yin raised his hand down consciously and blocked Shao Li's foot with his arm. The power of this kick is very powerful. Yin Xiang also had a pain in his arm and jumped from the tree. He was faced with the attack of Ningxi's soft fist. Yin Xiang could only dodge all of them, and then 2 somersaults on the ground for a distance. "I must ask you to apologize to Tian Tian. Wake up Yin Xiang." Shaoli took the bandage on his hand and ran towards Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang, who had just stabilized his body, was kicked to Tian Shan by Shaoli. Bandages began to appear around Yin Xiang. "Crap." Yin Xiang frowned. He didn't expect Shaoli to use this trick against him, and it was too late to escape. "That's it, Li." A loud roar suddenly appeared, and with one punch, Shaoli flew out and hit a tree. "Mr. Kai." Shaoli landed on the tree and looked at the visitor and shouted. End of this chapter. Chapter 97. Mission completed. Chapter 97. Mission completed. Kai rescued Yin Xiang, and Yin Xiang also successfully landed on the ground. "Is that trick for a partner, idiot?" Kai shouted at Shaoli. "I'm sorry, Mr. Kai." When Shaoli saw Kai, he immediately persuaded. "Mr. Kai." Niji also stood beside Kai, bowing his head and didn't dare to look at Kai. "Ningxi, why are you messing around?" Kai shouted at Ningxi. "Yin Xiang has a task at hand, and you still have to pester him. If Yin Xiang didn't want to take action against you, I'm afraid you are not Yin at all." Opponents. "I'm sorry, Teacher Kai." Niji also said to Kai. "Yin Xiang, hurry up and complete your mission. I'll settle the account with you when you come back." Kai still prioritized things. In this case, the mission was more important to the ninja. "Okay, Mr. Kai." Yin Xiang nodded and left here immediately. "Mr. Kai, why are you here?" Shaoli walked to Kai's side, while wearing a bandage, and Kai also explained to them the reason why he would come. Chunin, who was guarding the gate of Konoha, came to check when he saw the fighting here. As soon as he saw that In Xiang and the others were fighting, it was not easy to go up to dissuade them. He had to inform Kai, so Kai came quickly, so said, even if In Xiang is an umbu, it is still easy to be recognized by people. Let's forget Li. Why are you messing around, Niji? Kai looked back at Niji and said, Niji lowered his head and clenched his fists, but said nothing. In Xiang is now umbu, joining directly under Hokage. It is understandable that there are many tasks, but Kai said that the style of painting has changed here. How dare to make my lovely disciple be wronged? I feel unforgivable when he comes back. Yes, Teacher Kai. Shally also shouted at the side. In Xiang on the other side rubbed his arm while running. Are all people in this class crazy? They don't give others a chance to explain. I will definitely apologize when I come back. Haha, your love story is really more fun than Uzumaki Mido and Uzumaki Kushina. They have never experienced this. Nine Tails laughed inside In Xiang's body, the life of his two predecessors. Julie, he could see it all. Don't speak rude words. You can rest for a few days after finishing this task. I originally planned to accompany Tian Tian, but who would have guessed that this kind of thing happened at this time? In Xiang pouted and said, then quicken his pace. Complete the task as soon as possible and go back to deal with these private matters as soon as possible. In Xiang was thinking in his heart, if he had known that he would not take back the Fei Lei Shanku from the land of honey as soon as he came out, In Xiang finally arrived in the land of honey 3 days later, under In Xiang's full speed. It was night, and it was a good time for In Xiang to start. He threw Kowu into the village in the distance. In Xiang entered the village with the flying thunder god, and then began to look for the place where the daimyo was. The country of honey is also a small country. The place where the daimyo lives is naturally the safest place in this country, which is the Mihua village, so the daimyo must be in the Mihua village. In Xiang, who has been to Mihua village, ruled out a place where he could not live in a big name. In Xiang finally found a nice-looking house in the corner of Mihua village. This must be the residence of daimyo. In Xiang looked at the house, turned over from the wall, and began to explore the room where daimyo was. In Xiang didn't come to Mihua village during the last battle, so he didn't know. What does the name of Mihua village look like? As a last resort, In Xiang can only choose to kill all the men he sees. There were many servants living in the mansion of Daming, and they all had their own rooms. When In Xiang walked into the room and saw a man, he directly took their lives. When he saw the patrolling servants walking on the house, he also chose to kill them. Just when In Xiang was about to enter a room, there was a sudden scream. Kill! Kill! It was a woman's voice. She shouted tremblingly while looking at the corpse in front of her. The whole house lit up immediately. The maids poked their heads out of the room one after another, and there were 2 remaining male servants. Your Highness Princess! A ninja jumped in immediately outside the wall and ran to the screaming woman. This person was Shan, and the screaming woman was Miji. Shan, what's going on here? Is there an assassin? Father, how is your father? Miji hurriedly shouted to Shan. I'll look at the situation of the adults. Shan also left immediately and jumped to the door of the room where daimyo was. When Shan came in Xiang's knife was cutting the throat of the wide-eyed daimyo. When Shan saw this scene, he immediately threw it at Xiang with Ko. But Xiang's figure turned into a black flash and disappeared, and the Ko was thrown by Shan pinned a piece of paper on the wall. It was written that this was a warning from Shadow. This is... Shan looked at the black light thoughtfully, then clenched his fists. This is the sadness of Shaowa. In Xiangban knelt on the ground, holding the blood-stained thunderbolt in his hand, and said in his mouth, then put the thunderbolt back into the scabbard around his waist, and stood up from the ground. In Xiang has returned to Konoha with Flying Thunder God. In Xiang looked around. This place is in the yard of his own house, but he was obviously going to Tiantian's house. In order to visit Tiantian's house at night, In Xiang put Fei Lei Shun in front of Tiantian's house. Kanai, I know this every day. If I say that I have returned to the yard of my own home now, it can only be... In Xiang looked at Kanai on the ground and glanced outside the wall. Was it thrown in from outside the wall? In Xiong picked up the kunai on the ground, wrapped a note on the handle of the kunai, opened it, and said to In Xiong every day, In Xiong, I have known you for more than 10 years, and I know you. It really doesn't suit me. Let's try not to meet again in the future. It is written on the note that the reason why it is said to be as much as possible is because In Xiong and Tian Tian live in Konoha. No matter how long it takes, they will always meet. This, In Xiong made a tut in his mouth. His expression became very unnatural, and he unconsciously pinched the note into a ball in his hand. Oh, kid, have you been dumped by your girlfriend? Jiawei said to In Xiong. In Xiong ignored Jiawei, walked back to his room, took off the mask and hung it on the wall, and put the cloak on. It was also hung on the wall, and then I went to take a shower. After I came out, I sat on the sofa, looked at the mask hanging on the wall, and fell into contemplation. End of this chapter, Chapter 98, Daily Task. Chapter 98, The Daily Task. Okay, boy, hurry up and go to bed. You haven't slept for 4 days. If I hadn't kept you awake, you wouldn't know how many falls you've fallen along the way. After the incident, QB also noticed. Although Jiawei was talking in In Xiong's body, In Xiong still stared at the mask in a daze. Hey, boy. Nine Tails continued to shout. Forget it. I don't care about you. Nine Tails pouted, then fell down to sleep. As soon as Jiawei fell asleep, In Xiong, who was outside, also bumped and fell to the ground and fell asleep. It wasn't until noon the next day that In Xiongtsai got up from the ground and wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth. Kurama is really boring. In Xiong muttered in his mouth. Damn it, I should keep you from sleeping. Kurama shouted in Xiong's body. Okay, shut up. How can you help me for one more day? In Xiong said as he walked to the bathroom to wash up and then came out to make lunch. Whatever you say, for your lovelorn's sake, I don't care about you. Kurama pouted and said, and then ignored In Xiong. You stinky fox who has been single for hundreds of years is too embarrassed to tell me. After I hand the task, I will go to Tian Tian to apologize and then eat your single fox food. In Xiong rolled his eyes and said, after eating after lunch, In Xiong was going to go to Tsunade with a mask. In Xiong stretched out his hand in front of the mask. After being stunned for a while, he still chose not to wear a mask. He just put on a cape and left without even a knife. Soon In Xiong came to Tsunade's office and submitted the assignment. Okay, senior sister. In Xiong looked at Tsunade and said, well, that's enough. Tsunade looked at the mission information submitted by In Xiong and nodded. Then can I take a vacation? In Xiong asked tentatively. I'll give you a week. You'll have to come back to do the task in a week. Konoha's situation has just improved a little bit. With a little effort, Konoha will recover. Tsunade said to In Xiong. Okay. In Xiong nodded. It would be nice to have a holiday. In Xiong agreed to leave and was ready to leave. Wait a minute. Tsunade suddenly stopped In Xiong, and In Xiong turned to look at Tsunade. Are you going to find Tian Tian? Tsunade said to In Xiong. That's right. In Xiong nodded. This is really urgent. It's a coincidence. The first class every day has been sent out on a mission. Tsunade smiled awkwardly at In Xiong. She also learned about the relationship between In Xiong and Tian Tian, but there is no one available for that mission. Now, I can only let that class go every day. You, senior sister, you are the stumbling block on my emotional path. In Xiong clenched his fist and stomped his feet angrily. Sorry. Why don't I tell you their mission? You can go to them. Tsunade said to In Xiong. Okay, you, senior sister. It's too much. I promised a good holiday, but I still let me carry out the mission in disguise. In Xiong immediately reacted. Tsunade was doing his own routine. Then why don't you go? This mission is quite dangerous. A girl every day. Tsunade said to In Xiong with a smug expression on his face. Sing, I'll go. In Xiong rolled his eyes at Tsunade. Don't let me stop for a moment. 2 days later. Tian? Where are you, Tian? In the thick fog, Niji was looking for Tian's figure, but he couldn't find it. And even after opening his eyes, he couldn't find it. Tian. Xiaoli was also looking for Tian's figure everywhere on the side of the fog. Ningxi? Xiaoli also looked for Tian and Neji everywhere, and the three of them were trapped in a thick fog. Tian held a big knife in his hand and took the opponent's attack. The opponent was also a big knife, pressing on Tian's knife. Tian was so severely pressed by this force that he bent his legs halfway through it, kneeling on the ground. The Konoha ninja actually intervenes in such a small country's affairs. You can take your life. The ninja pressing the big sword exerted force, and at once split Tian's sword from Tian's hand to the side. Because Tian's hand, it was so painful, I had to let go of my hand. He raised the big sword and slashed it towards Tian's head. Tian sat on the ground, looking at the big sword that was cut down in despair. His eyes widened, and it was over. Poof! Blood splattered in the air. Tian flew out with wide eyes and fell to the ground. Yin Xiang. She looked at Yin Xiang, who was pressing on her every day, and it was Yin Xiang who saved her. Tian. Yin Xiang looked at Tian, and there was blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. There was a long scratch on Yin Xiang's back. The blood was constantly flowing on the ground, and Yin Xiang became very weak. Yin Xiang. You. Tian looked at Yin Xiang in a panic, hugged Yin Xiang's hand, and touched Yin Xiang's blood. Looking at his injured blood, Tian's tears suddenly flowed out. Like this go down, Yin Xiang is going to die. Where's the kid from? The ninja in front of him put the big sword on his shoulders and looked at Yin Xiang and Tian, who were lying on the ground. It's from Konoha. At this moment, a hand passed through his chest with a thunder light on his arm, which directly smashed his internal organs. Bump! With a touch, Yin Xianghua, who fell to the ground, turned into a cloud of smoke. Shadow clone. Tian looked at the blood on his hands and disappeared. What? The ninja knelt on the ground and then fell to the ground. Yin Xiang's hand was also drawn out. When he arrived, he happened to encounter this scene, and Yin Xiang was naturally not stupid enough to stop it. The knife had to block the knife, so he sent a shadow clone. Why did you come here? Tian stood up from the ground, looked at Yin Xiang, and said, I came here specially to find you. Yin Xiang walked in front of Tian and said to Tian, who stared at Yin Xiang's eyes without evading his eyes at all, I thought I had made it clear. No, every day Now is not the time for you to flirt. A voice came from around Yin Xiang and Tian, and the fog hadn't dissipated, which proved that the person wasn't dead. Yin Xiang looked at the corpse on the ground. It turned into a ball of water. It's water that separates. Tian looked at the pool of water on the ground and said, Deal with the task first, then let's talk about our business. Who is the other party? Yin Xiang looked at Tian and asked, It's the ghost lantern Moon, one of the 7 members of the Blade Sword of the Fog Hidden. I heard that he is dead, but it is indeed him. Tian took out the scroll and said to guard the surroundings. Ghost Lamp Full Moon. Yin Xiang frowned. Ghost Lan Manyu is the elder brother of Ghost Lamp Shueyu, and he is also very strong. He is a genius who can skillfully use 7 ninja knives. No one knows his true strength. He has the ability to channel 7 knives. Real. And his hydration technique is very difficult to deal with. End of this chapter, Chapter 99, Full Moon with Ghost Lights. Chapter 99, Ghost Lantern Full Moon. Fogien Assassination Technique. At this moment, a voice came from behind Yin Xiang. A large knife slashed towards Yin Xiang's neck, and Yin Xiang raised Queenie lay around his waist to block the knife. Ghost Lantern Manuez K whispered. Yin Xiang's eyes widened, and he was holding an explosive knife. Momo, the detonating talisman on it, exploded directly in front of Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang also was overturned by the explosion. The technique of the water wrist. Ghost Daemon's arm suddenly increased by 2 circles and smashed towards Yin Xiang's neck. After Yin Xiang rolled on the ground, he stood up and punched him with the technique of the water wrist. When they were together, the two looked at Yin Xiang for a short while and saw the eyes of the Ghost Lamp Full Moon. Touch! Ghost Lantern Manuel exerted force on his hand and smashed Yin Xiang out again. Yin Xiang stepped on a stone and hit Ghost Lantern Manuel with 1,000 hands in his hand. The flat-eye flounder is liberated. The knife in Manuel's hand turned into a double-knife flounder. First, gas was emitted from the two round holes of the flounder, and then the entire flounder glowed as a whole to form chakra aggregates, and then emitted chakra light. The ball exploded and hit In Xiang, colliding with In Xiang's Chidori. This huge amount of chakra made In Xiang suffer a loss. He was completely knocked out, and he drew a distance on the ground and hit the previous stone. In Xiang. Tian Tian hurriedly ran towards In Xiang and supported In Xiang. Are you all right? Tian Tian looked at In Xiang and said. In Xiang sat up from the ground and spat out a mouthful of bruised blood. This is the reincarnation of filth, and it is a technique to resurrect the dead. The resurrected dead will have infinite chakra and immortality, unless the practitioner is found, whether he seals it, or he will be consumed to death. The reincarnation of dirty earth? Isn't that a forbidden technique invented by the second-generation Hokage-sama? It seems that Tian Tian has also heard of this technique. Where are Niji and Shaoli? We got separated in the fog, and there was a lot of his water in the fog. Niji couldn't determine our location. Tian Tian said to In Xiang, "Get out of the way." In Xiangyi suddenly pushed Tian Tian away, and Tian Tian rolled out on the ground. A stream of water jumped up from Tian Tian's previous position, turning into a ghost full moon, holding a beheading sword and facing In Cut to the head. Ninja. Thunderstorm. In Xiang pulled out the quenching thunder, blocked the beheading sword, raised two fingers, and a powerful thunder and lightning erupted beside him. The ghost lamp full moon electricity was scorched black, and there were many wounds on his body. Although lay done is his weakness, which will cause him to not be able to fully liquefy, but due to the reincarnation of the dirty earth, his body quickly recovers. It's a very strong move. Gaiden Minyu looked at In Xiang and said with a smile, "The art of water and iron cannons." Gaiden Minyu abandoned the beheading sword and stretched out at In Xiang's head, shooting like bullets from the tip of her index finger. General liquid ran through In Xiang's head. Bump! In Xiang turned into a cloud of white mist and disappeared in front of him as a piece of wood. Substitute. Ghost Lamp Manuel frowned at the wood on the ground. Boundary art. Vodenman Tiata. In Xiang appeared behind him, used the barrier, and directly trapped the ghost lamp full moon in the barrier, and the surrounding fog also dissipated a lot of all the fog into the barrier. Inside the world, In Xiang looked down on the situation in the world. After the fog dissipated, Niji and Shao Li in the distance also saw this and rushed over immediately. In Xiang, why are you here? Shao Li looked at In Xiang and shouted. At this time, In Xiangjing helped Tian Tian up from the ground. Sorry, I'm in a hurry, In Xiang said to Tian Tian, who shook his head and said that he didn't care. Senior sister asked me to support you. Ghost Lantern Manuel was trapped in the barrier. How could someone use the dirty earth to reincarnate? Are there other enemies? In Xiang looked at Shao Li and Ningxi and asked. The entrustment we received is that a lot of property in this small country has been robbed. Let's the finances back and chase them all the way. We only met the ghost lamp, full moon. You mean he's already dead? Ningxi looked at the knot. The fog in the world with a white eye, you can see that there are dozens of groups of chakras fighting inside. Small country, robbing property, reincarnating from dirty soil, ghost lamp water moon. In Xiang lowered his head and thought for a while. These clues put together. Let In Xiang think of only one person, that is Orochimaru. Orochimaru probably used the technique of reincarnation from the dirty earth and sent a lot of dead people to various small countries to collect money and develop his own power, but his hands cannot use ninjutsu. And the user who uses this reincarnation from the dirty earth may be a swindler. I'm afraid it has something to do with Orochimaru. My barrier is used to consume chakra, but the reincarnated earth has infinite chakra. It's only a matter of time before he breaks the barrier. We have to find a way to seal his actions, and then I use the sealing technique to seal him. In Xiang looked at Ningxi, and the three said. Looking at In Xiang's expression, Ningxi was still very unhappy, but now that the enemy is in front of him, it is not the time for Ningxi to be angry. Besides, In Xiang came here specially to support him. That's what I said, but our attack can't hit him at all. Xiao Li said, a little disappointed. Ghost Lantern Moon is simply the nemesis of the third class. The third class is a 3-person taijutsu class. The ninjutsu is much worse, and the Ghost Lamp Full Moon's hydration technique can be immune to all physical damage. Attacking is simply a waste of effort. Melee done can make him temporarily lose the ability to hydrate. It may only be 3 seconds. In these 3 seconds, you must use a soft fist to seal his chakra so that he can't hydrate for a longer time. Xiao Li will control him, and then I will seal it. Yin Xiang said, looking at Xiao Li and Ningxi. As expected of Yin Xiang, the plan was made so quickly. Xiao Li looked at Yin Xiang and smiled. Although he had shot against Yin Xiang before, both Yin Xiang and Xiao Li didn't care about it at all. After all, Yin Xiang and the 3 people in the third class have been friends for more than 10 years, and some small frictions are normal. This enchantment. Niji looked at the enchantment with his white eyes. The 4 walls of the enchantment were filled with chakra and looked extremely solid. This is what Tian mentioned about letting Yin Xiang and Juema Lu are they all caught in a hard battle and almost died in the enchantment? What about me? What am I going to do? Tian looked at Yin Xiang and said, Qianqian's words, prepare a scroll of flame bombs in case of accidents. Always be ready to attack him with flame bombs. The flame can also achieve the effect of evaporating water. Yin Xiang said to Tian. End of this chapter, chapter 100, sealed. Top der Sadasel. Okay. Tian nodded and took out the scroll of the flame bomb. The fog inside the barrier gradually dissipated, and several people could see that Shui Yue was fighting the wooden man inside. Hey, what kind of weird ninjutsu is this? Why do these broken things keep recovering? Ghost Lantern Manuel shouted to Yin Xiang dissatisfiedly while blowing the wooden man up with a blasting knife. Get ready, Yin Xiang said to Ningxi, Xiao Li, Tian, and the 3 of them also assumed a fighting posture. Result. Yin Xiang directly lifted the barrier. At this time, the Ghost Lamp Manuel was slashed and smashed to the ground, and his body was unable to make any other movement. Yin Xiang seized this opportunity. Qiandio's sharp spear. Yin Xiang's hand flickered with thunder light, and a thunder light penetrated Ghost Lamp Manu's body. What? Ghost Light Manuel looked at the Chidori sharp spear in front of his chest, and his body couldn't hydrate. Gossip. 361 palms. Niji went up and used all his strength. 361 palms quickly hit Ghost Lantern Manuel. All of them hit, blocking Ghost Lantern Manuel's chakra flow. Shadow Dance Leaf. Xiao Li also rushed up and kicked Ghost Lantern Manuel into the air, bound Ghost Lantern Manuel with a bandage, and smashed him to the ground. The difference was that the bandage was left on Ghost Lantern Manuel's body. He was tied so tightly that Xiao Li jumped out of the pit on the ground. Cloth binding. Yin Xiang made a seal on his hand and patted it on the bandage wrapped around the Ghost Lamp Full Moon. The bandage wrapped the Ghost Lamp Water Moon, and there was a technique on it. The Ghost Lamp Full Moon was successfully sealed, and the explosive knife on the ground also touched it. A sound disappeared. Yin Xiang did not only do tasks in Umbu, but also learned a lot from the captain of Umbu. Sand Ninja Village's cloth binding technique is one of the sealing techniques. Where's the property he stole? It should be nearby, right? Yin Xiang stood up from the ground and said, I saw it. They are all under the tree over there. Then the mission is complete. Xiao Li nodded and smiled. Fortunately, you are here. Otherwise, we would have nothing to do with this person. Niji also said to Yin Xiang, Actually, I came here specially to find Tian. Yin Xiang looked at Ningxi and said, thinking of what happened a few days ago, Ningxi's expression turned bad when he looked at Yin Xiang. I made a special trip to apologize to Tian. Yin Xiang said to Ningxi, looking at Ningxi's expression. That's great. Xiao Li laughed when he heard this, dragged Niji, and ran to the side, letting Yin Xiang and Tian stay here. Apologize? What do you have to apologize to me? Tian put away the scroll, turned his head, and said to Yin Xiang, Tian, in fact, I went to see Senior Sister to ask for leave that day and wanted to stay with you for a few days, but Senior Sister said that she would let me rest after I came back from that task, and then I happened to be met by you. Yin Xiang looked at Tian said, Tian was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Yin Xiang to take up this task because he was asking for leave. Right? Thinking about it carefully, he interrupted Yin Xiang without letting Yin Xiang finish speaking. Tian, I know it's my fault not to accompany you on your birthday, but you also know that being a ninja puts the task first. I also hope you can understand me. I also decided that after I go back this time, I will resign from Umbu, so I have more time to accompany you. Yin Xiang said to Tian, grabbing Tian's shoulder. Tian slowly took a step back and broke away from Yin Xiang's hand. Yin Xiang, no need. Umbu's life may be more suitable for you. The name of the black flash that you spread during your time in Umbu, and now Konoha, is also known to everyone. I know. Tian looked at the ground and said, you are the descendant of the 4 generations of Hokage. You have a noble status, you are smart, and there are so many people who like you, and I am just an unknown little ninja. I've been thinking a lot these days. Maybe it's not suitable to be together. It's not suitable from the end to the end. You're only responsible for me. If you feel bad about this matter, go find out who the poisoner is, and take it as my responsibility, yes. Tian looked at Yin Xiang and said. Hearing these words, Yin Xiang's expression also changed. He didn't expect Tian to think this way. No, Tian, what identity is not identity? I have never thought about these. How can you think about this? Yin Xiang quickly said to Tian. When we were in school, I sat next to you and chatted with you every day. Maybe apart from Kakashi-sensei, the person who knew you best was me. And it was because of this that I felt that I was not suitable for you. Yes. Tian shook his head and said, identity or something is actually not the point. The point is her own feelings. Thank you for saving me this time. Let's go and return the finances. I'll ask you to bring it back. Tian glanced at Yin Xiang for the last time and said, and then ran away. Yin Xiang stood there and looked at Tian's back. It was not until Tian's back disappeared that Yin Xiang sighed. Have you found the person who poisoned me? Yin Xiang carried the ghost lamp full moon on the ground and returned with flying thunder god. Konoha came to Tsunade's office with the ghost lantern full moon. You're back. Tsunade looked at Yin Xiang and said. Yin Xiang nodded. This is the opponent they met every day, Ghost Lantern Moon, who was resurrected and controlled by the reincarnation technique of Dirty Earth. I suspect that this matter has something to do with Orochimaru. Yin Xiang put Ghost Lawn Man Moon on the ground and said, the art of reincarnation in dirty soil. Tsunade frowned, stood up from his seat, walked to the side of the ghost lamp full moon, and looked at the wrapped ghost lamp full moon. Now, there shouldn't be a ghost lamp full of moon. Maybe it's just a random passerby. Yin Xiang said to Tsunade, where are Niji and the others? Tsunade asked Yin Xiang. They went to return the financial submission task. I'll be back first. Oh, aren't you coming back with Tian? Tsunade looked at Yin Xiang with an unnatural expression. He should have understood something. Tian and I are about to stop here. Yin Xiang smiled bitterly, but I will still fight for it. If it really doesn't work, I have no choice. Young is good. Tsunade patted Yin Xiang's shoulder and shouted. You're still laughing, and I don't know what caused this situation. Yin Xiang looked at Tsunade and said dissatisfiedly. Aha. Tsunade smiled awkwardly. It's all for Konoha, haha. Tsunade smiled. Okay, all right. I'll leave this to you. I want to continue working. Already. Really? Yin Xiang sighed helplessly and left the Hokage building with the body on his back, looking for a place to bury him. Into this chapter, Chapter 101, Root Tissue. Chapter 101, Root Organization. After burying the body, Yin Xiang also went home. He was able to rest for a few days, and Juemalu also came back not long after. Jin Xiang. Juemalu took off his mask and took off his tattered cloak. It seemed that there was a battle in the country of stuffing. You're back. Yin Xiang looked at Juemalu and said, it looks like you've been through a war. The infiltration was discovered. There are only a few ninjas in the country of stuffing, and I accidentally killed them all. Juemalu said a little embarrassedly. After the last battle between the two countries, the country of stuffing could not recover at all. It was already a country that was about to be annexed, and Jumalu went to turn around. All the ninjas died, and so did the daimyo. Can be said to be very miserable. In other words, did you destroy the kingdom of stuffing, you bastard? In Xiang said with a wry smile. Of course I didn't do anything to ordinary villagers. Juma Lu sat next to In Xiang and said, why do you think I'm so cruel? Just kidding, of course I know you have a good heart. In Xiang smiled. So how are you and Tiantian? Hey, I was completely dumped, but I'm still going to fight again, and I'm going to quit Umbu. In Xiang said with a sigh. Exit Umbu, because you don't have time to accompany Tiantian? Juma Lu said after being stunned for a while. Yeah. In Xiang nodded but did not deny it. However, I think you can't give up your future and work because of a woman. I don't mean to say that you should abandon Tiantian, but I just feel that it's not good for you to do so. Juma Lu told In Xiang said. Having said that, now that I think about it, I just wanted to be an ordinary ninja, marry an ordinary wife, and live a clean life, but now I have become Konoha Umbu, and I'm still on the assassination list of other countries. Come on, thinking about it gives me a headache. In Xiang pouted and said, if you are an ordinary wife, you don't have a family, and you don't have anything outstanding, but the use of cutting tools is the strongest among Konoha Chunin. In this case, it is indeed the best wife to be your ideal. What to choose? Juma Lu thought about it and said, forget it. Don't worry about this kind of thing anymore. You're tired too. Take a good rest. I'm resting for a few days. Do you still have a task? In Xiang waved his hand and said, okay. Kumaro nodded. Anyway, I still don't think I should give up my ninja path for my own feelings. Kumaro stood up and went back to his own room. In Xiang thought of Juma Lu's words and then looked at his Umbu mask hanging on the wall. Is it a black flash? In Xiang looked at the picture of Minato and Kushina holding himself on the wall. A tear slipped out of In Xiang's eyes. Why are you crying? In Xiang felt the tears on his face and reached out to wipe them away. If only I could use the reincarnation technique, I could resurrect you. In Xiang looked at the wall. The photo said, after all, Tian was still reluctant to see In Xiang this week. In Xiang also decided to continue to work in the Dark Army, but In Xiang said much less than before. The more serious In Xiang worked, the more mysterious his Dark Army commander felt. He had no way of knowing his identity at all, and the strength of this Dark Unit commander is very strong. You can imagine that the known people who once served as the Dark Unit commander, Uchiha Itachi and Hatake Kakashi, just these two people are enough to represent the strength of the Dark Unit commander. Curious, but this Dark Army commander also hides himself so well in real life that In Xiang still doesn't know his true identity. In the busyness of the mission, another year has passed, and the name of Black Flash has spread among the 5 major countries. Many people have also sneaked into Konoha to assassinate this Black Flash, but they came to Konoha's other country. None of the assassination ninjas returned alive. In Xiang also generously returned the body of the ninja who came to assassinate it back to the gate of their village. Today, In Xiang finally encountered something that he had always been worried about. Sir Danzo wants to see you. On his way home, In Xiang was surrounded by a dozen Umbu in the alley, all of whom were root ninjas. Let's go. In Xiang frowned under the mask. Danzo finally couldn't help but want to shoot himself. The Black Flash brought too many ninjas and spies from other countries to Konoha, so this Black Flash must be made disappear, otherwise Konoha will not be at peace. This is Danzo's idea. In Xiang has Fei Lei Shun in his hand. Of course he will not be afraid of them. Just run away if there is any danger. Following the dozen or so ninjas, In Xiang came to the root. After the Uchiha genocide incident, the high level ordered the dismissal of Danzo's Hokage assistant position and the root organization was dissolved. However, recently, the root organization has reappeared, and it is estimated that with the support of the 2 consultants of Konoha, it has been able to continue to reorganize. Following them, In Xiang came to a corridor of Jin, where Danzong was waiting for In Xiang. When they saw Danzong, the dozen Umbu stopped and scattered in 4 corridors, blocking In Xiang. The way to go. In Xiang looked at these ninjas, then walked to Danzo, and walked in front of Danzo. What's the matter, Danzo-sama? Black Flash, That little guy back then has grown to look like this. Danzo looked at In Xiang and said, Danzo-sama is too famous, and you look a lot older, but I don't think you call me here to catch up. It's not really. Danzo nodded. The name of the Black Flash has brought a threat to Konoha. You must disappear. Really? What kind of disappearance? In Xiang did not show any unexpected feelings. Then it depends on your choice. Danzo looked at In Xiang. His exposed eye was full of murderous intent, and the surrounding Umbu also took out their weapons. Join the root, or die at the root. In Xiang smiled and said, if it wasn't for the genius ninja that Danzo has been cutting Konoha, I'm afraid Konoha would have mastered the world by now. Oh, it seems that you know a lot of things, Danzo said with a condensed gaze. I found out that Danzo-sama, your targets are all people with no family background. Why have you never thought of attacking the Hinata clan? Are you bullying the weak? Even if I bully you, so what? Join the root, or die at the root. It's all up to you. End of this chapter. Chapter 102, New Task. Chapter 102, New Quests. You can't keep me, Lord Danzo. In Xiang still called Danzo the Lord politely, and his tone did not fluctuate. If I want to leave, I can leave at any time. I'm here because I'm a ninja from the same village after all. What you do is for the good of Konoha. Although the method is a bit extreme, I still have to admit that you have done a lot for Konoha. What do you mean? Danzo frowned. You know my ability. Jin's, and will not be very good. I also advise you not to have the idea of becoming Hokage, or you will die soon after you become Hokage. In Xiang looked at Danzong and said, foreknowledge. Danzo said with a frown. That's all, Danzo-sama. In Xiang nodded and said, before turning into a black flash and disappearing in front of Danzo. It really is a black flash. Looking at the black light in front of him, a smile appeared in the corner of his mouth. I will find you again. When he got home, In Xiang took off his mask. 17-year-old In Xiang already had a mature face. The eyes revealed by his purple pupils were also much more determined. He had broken black hair and a strand of hair in front of his forehead, drifting on In Xiang's neck. Because of the nine-tailed relationship, the wounds on In Xiang's body did not leave any scars. Jun Ma Lu went to perform the mission and has not returned yet. It was already late at this time. After In Xiang cooked for himself, he sat in the corridor, drinking and looked at the moon in the sky. He used to express some emotions, but now he not a word. The Umbu mission for a year and a half has made In Xiang grow a lot. And In Xiang has also changed from a lower ninja who only killed ninjas at the beginning to a killing machine that will kill all those who hinder his mission. But In Xiang's killing machine is different from Jin's killing machine, and he still has his own ideas. After drinking a pot of wine, In Xiang went back to his room to sleep, and he will continue to do new tasks tomorrow. Danzo, look for you, Tsunade said to In Xiang when In Xiang came to Tsunade's office the next day. In Xiang nodded. It's nothing, senior sister, don't worry. What about today's task? Konoha has recovered. There are not so many tasks that Umbu needs to do, and you can relax a little later. Tsunade said to In Xiang, I will warn him about Danzo. Well, In Xiang nodded. Then what do I do now? Just stay here. If you need support, I will send you there. Tsunade said to In Xiang. Yes. In Xiang nodded, then went outside the window and sat outside the window behind Tsunade, leaning against the wall and looking at Konoha. People come and go in Konoha village. Compared with other countries, I don't know how much more prosperous it is. There are people everywhere on the street. Looking at Konoha like this, In Xiang wants to gain strength and protect Konoha like this. Compared with what I thought at the beginning, I have deviated a lot now. In Xiang, what are you doing up there? Ino waved to In Xiang from below, shouted to In Xiang. In Xiang looked down at Ino below and also waved to Ino, but did not say anything. Ino jumped up from below and stood beside In Xiang. Ino's hair also changed back to the long hair it used to be, and it was much prettier than a year and a half ago. Hey, I said you, what are you doing here? Ino said, leaning down and putting his face in front of In Xiang's. Wait for the task. In Xiang looked into Ino's eyes and said, don't you have a task? No, Konoha is not what it used to be now. Ino nodded and said, but you, it doesn't seem like you were a year ago. Ino sat next to In Xiang and said. In Xiang lay on the roof with his hands under his head, Looking at the sky, people always change. That, you, and Tian Shi. Ino looked at In Xiang, hesitating to say anything. Just say something, In Xiang said. I heard that Tian seems to be with Niji, then you too. Really? In Xiang felt a little uncomfortable when listening to Ino's words. Niji, this guy took action. Then it's impossible for the two of us. That's it. Ino nodded, hugged his legs, and looked at the sky. A breeze blew, and Ino's hair fluttered with the wind. When Ino stroked his hair, In Xiang looked at the sky. At a glance at Ino, this guy is no longer the little girl he used to be. What's the matter? Seeing In Xiang looking at himself, Ino smiled at In Xiang, and In Xiang shook his head. Just say something. Ino said what In Xiang said just now. In Xiang sat up, resting on the ground with one hand, took off the mask and hat with the other hand. His black hair also fluttered in the wind. The warm wind of Konoha was really comfortable. I said, Ino, have you really liked me for 2 years? Thinking of Ino, who had been pestering him since 2 years ago, In Xiang said to Ino. 2 years, 2 months, and 15 days to be exact. Ino said to In Xiang with a smile, every day. In Xiang was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect that Ino really remembered so accurately. Compared to Sakura, I still have this Sasuke in my heart, but I have a deep love for you, Ino said with a wink at In Xiang. I'm not a person who likes to procrastinate, so Ino, I'm not suitable for finding a girlfriend right now. You should find other people who will like it, such as Shikamaru or something. In Xiang said to Ino. Shikamaru? Shikamaru is good, but the relationship between Shikamaru's mouth and the Temari of San Shinobi is also very good. I think the two of them are having fun. As for the gossip, the girl really didn't give any news. Pass. Then I can see Shino as well. That guy Shino is gloomy and boring every day, so I don't like him. Then Shaoli. I don't like those thick eyebrows. They have bad taste. Hey, In Xiang sighed helplessly. You saw it too? I am Umbu now, and I have constant tasks every day, and I also broke up because I couldn't see Tian because of the task, even if I promised to be with you. Together, we will never see each other. Isn't that just what I saw? Besides, Konoha's situation is different now than before. Ino smiled indifferently. Dark, the mission is here. Tsunade opened the window and looked at In Xiang behind him and said, Ino is also there, just right. The two of you will go to this mission. Yes. In Xiang nodded and put on his mask and hat. End of this chapter, Chapter 103, Country of Introduction. Chapter 103, The Country of Introduction. The mission location is the country of Jieji. It is said that there are many ghosts. Let's deal with it. Tsunade said to In Xiang and Ino in front of him. Yes. In Xiang took the task book and nodded. You don't need to use Umbu's identity for this mission. Be careful on the road. Tsunade also nodded and said, Yeah. In Xiang also nodded and left with Ino. I'm so lucky to be able to do tasks with you. Ino happily said to In Xiang after the two went downstairs together. The task seems to be to remove ghosts. Aren't you afraid? In Xiang said to Ino, What should I be afraid of with you here? Ino laughed. In Xiang was also speechless. Ino really wanted to tease himself at the opportunity, then meet at the door in half an hour. In Xiang said helplessly. Okay. Ino nodded, and In Xiang left. Half an hour later, In Xiang was dressed in black, carrying a black bag, with a forehead guard around his waist, and a quenching thunder was tied to the forehead, and came to Konoha's gate, where Ino was already waiting. You're still so much more pleasing to the eye, Ino said to In Xiang, and ran to In Xiang's side. Really? In Xiang looked at himself. Okay, let's go. Jiziguo is still some distance away. Yeah. Ino nodded and followed In Xiang's back. As a result, he didn't take a few steps before he met the third shift who had returned from the task. The two teams faced each other and stood in the same place at the same time. In Xiang and Tian's pupils shrank slightly, then froze in place at a loss. Ningxi looked at Tian, stretched out his hand to hold Tian's hand, and walked up. Shaoli followed behind. The three walked towards In Xiang and Ino together. In Xiang was stunned for a moment, but he still followed Ino. In Xiang lowered his head and didn't look at Tian and Ningxi. It seemed that what Ino said was really right. Ino looked at the lost In Xiang, clenched his fist, and gritted his teeth, hugged In Xiang's arm, and pulled as In Xiang walked forward. The 5 passed by. Xiaoli didn't say a word when he looked at the situation. When In Xiang and Tian Tian passed by, they both glanced at each other quietly, then lowered their heads, and the 5 of them didn't say a word from beginning to end. When Tian Tian and the others were walking away, In Xiang patted Ino's arm, and Ino also let go of In Xiang's arm. It's really embarrassing. Ino said. In Xiang didn't speak, just sighed. If Ino did this, wouldn't it mean to announce to them that he had a relationship with In Xiang? Now it's hard to do. In Xiang's face didn't show anything, but my heart is a mess. Don't worry about it so much. Let's do the task first, Ino said to In Xiang. In Xiang nodded, and the two walked on a road together. It will take 4 days to get to the country of Jieji and rush from here, and it will take a week if you go slower, and I don't know what the country of Jieshi will become by then. Looks like it, In Xiang said as he walked. Then go slowly. You're not in a hurry anyway. You just want to stay with me for a few more days, In Xiang said helplessly. Oh, you saw through. Ino stuck out his tongue and said, but if it's just to get rid of ghosts, it's only a B-level task at most. Why do you want to shoot a Chunin in Umbu? It shouldn't be you. In Xiang thought more and more that something was wrong. But at this time, Ino appeared in himself. On the side, there is no task today, but as soon as Ino came to Tsunade, he asked Ino to do the task with him by the way. Huh? What are you talking about? Ino's eyes flicked to one side, pretending to be stunned. You really can't lie, In Xiang complained when looking at Ino like this. And it really was Ino who was doing things, and it seemed that Tsunade also intended to match him and Ino. This year, Ino also followed Tsunade to learn medical ninjutsu. It can be said that she is Shao Sakura's junior sister, so Ino and In Xiang still have more contact. So it seems that Tsunade is helping his disciples match marriage. Ah, really? You're always so smart. Can't you be confused once? Ino shouted to In Xiang. It's not that I'm not confused. Thinking of the poisonous smoke and the things he did every day, it was his own confusion. After all, In Xiang has no clue about the poisonous gas over the years, but there is no clue to the poisonous gas. It was from the Insolo family, and there was no clue to indicate that it was someone other than the Insolo family. So In Xiang could only pin the clues on the Wooden Man Theater contract scroll, the discredited name. In the next week, In Xiang also took advantage of Ino's intentions and walked with Ino for a week. There were no other villages on the way, and supplies could be replenished in it. A week later, the two crossed the ocean and arrived at the country of Jieji. The country of Jieji is a little-known country. As soon as you go to the island, there are dilapidated houses and some ancient buildings. Although the houses are dilapidated, there is still a smell of people. Is this the country of Jieji? It looks so desolate. Ino and In Xiang were walking on the street. Ino looked at the houses on both sides and said that there was no one on the street, but someone could be seen hiding in the house. Trembling, are you frightened by those so-called ghosts? In Xiang also looked at the houses on both sides of the street and said, this is not a time of peace. Except for the big countries, no one dares to provoke them. Other small countries are still in constant wars. As for the person who issued the mission to us, I haven't seen it at all. Ino complained dissatisfiedly. After walking for a while, he walked into the wasteland, but he still didn't see the person who issued the mission. The task book says that someone will pick it up at the Ji's Higuo. Looking at the situation, it is probably an accident. In Xiang opened the task book and said, the person who issued the task is called Ping Hao, the ninja leader of the Ji's Higuo, and his strength is also strong. There is only the strength of the special Jinin. If it doesn't appear, something must have happened. Then what do we do now? Let's wait until night. There will be ghosts here at night. And people in the country of Jieji are so scared that they have a nervous breakdown. I still don't believe that there are ghosts in this world. It is probably caused by someone's illusion. Find a magician and complete it. The task is good. The reward has already been paid anyway. In Xiang put away the task book and said, okay. Ino also nodded and said, end of this chapter. Chapter 104, Possessed Monsters. Chapter 104, a monster that will possess itself. The two sat on the top of the mountain and waited until no one came out to pick them up at night. So Yin Xiang became more and more sure that the man named Ping Hao had an accident, and no one came out of the village for a day, and they all hid at home. At night, in the mountains, a thick fog suddenly formed, and the thick fog gradually enveloped the village. Yin Xiang knew that there was a problem with the fog when he saw that several houses were hurriedly locking their windows. Resolved, Yin Xiang immediately formed a seal on his hand and unlocked the illusion. But there was no response at all. Is it an illusion? Ino also tried to cancel the illusion, but there was no response. Yin Xiang frowned. If it wasn't an illusion, it would be a bit difficult to do. It stands to reason that there is no ghost in this world, but the Hokage's side the world, Yin Xiang is really not sure if it is really a ghost. It is really difficult to handle. These mists contain chakra, which is ninjutsu. Ninetail said inside Yin Xiang's body. Really, that's man-made, just find the practitioner. Yin Xiang nodded and replied. The fog was thicker at this time. Yin Xiang and Ino almost couldn't see each other when they stood together. Follow me, don't let go. Yin Xiang held Ino's hand and said to Ino, it will be difficult if we get separated. Ino's face that could not be seen in the mist also turned red. This was the first time Yin Xiang held his hand. Win done. Big breakthrough. Yin Xiang made a seal with one hand and used the big breakthrough, trying to blow away all the fog. These fogs were indeed forced back by Yin Xiang's big breakthrough. But with a slam, the fog came back. It was more intense than before. Yin Xiang could only feel that his hand was holding Ino's hand, and he couldn't even see his own hand. Yin Xiang stood on the spot and didn't move. Doing nothing now is the best choice. Ino, are you all right? Yin Xiang asked in Ino's direction, but did not respond. Ino. Yin Xiang frowned and took a few steps in Ino's direction. At the same time, he squeezed Ino's hand, but Ino still didn't respond. When Yin Xiang approached Ino, he felt a burst of puncture. The sound of the air slashed towards him. Yin turned his head to the side of the lower consciousness, and a kunai slashed Yin Xiang's cheek. This is not the end. The hand holding kunai continued to swipe towards Yin Xiang's neck. Yin Xiang immediately raised the scabbard to block kunai. Kunai's master was actually Ino. At this moment, the mist in front of Yin Xiang lightened. When Yin Xiang saw a corrupt head on Ino's body, he shouted at him, and Yin Xiang quickly let go. Releasing Ino's hand, he stepped back for a distance. The surrounding fog became lighter, and Yin Xiang could also see Ino in front of him. Although the body belonged to Ino, the head had completely turned into a corroded head. Ino seemed to have lost his consciousness, and his body was left to him. Head control. Damn it, is it so disgusting? It was Yin Xiang who had experienced a lot of wind and waves and scolded him when he saw this scene. He watched this Ino continue rushing towards him, opening his mouth and biting towards him. Yin Xiang's neck. Yin Xiang pulled out the quenching thunder and blocked the mouth of his head. He bit the blade and stopped. Save me. Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang heard Ino's voice at this time, and it was from the mouth of the monster in front of him. Yin Xiang felt a chill in his heart. Could it be that this head has grown on it? The outside of Ino's head is like a skull on Ino's head. Ino, are you all right? Wait for me. I'll find a way to save you. Yin Xiang pushed the monster in front of him with force, although he said that the opponent's body was indeed Ino's. How can I make myself start with this? Yeah. At this time, the monster made a strange whisper and disappeared into the fog with Ino's body. Stop! Yin Xiang immediately chased after him, but he didn't know where to chase for a while, so he could only use the big breakthrough again in the same place. This time the fog that was blown away did not come back, but the figure of Ino also disappeared. Damn, where did this take Ino? Yin Xiang looked at the empty mountaintop and searched the ground for the traces left by Ino when he left, but he couldn't find anything at all. Not a single trace was left. Kurama, can you find it? In desperation, Yin Xiang could only ask the Kurama for help. It's just that there is something wrong with the Kurama, and there is nothing wrong with the stinky fox. I can't find it, Kurama said directly. Don't lie to me. The fox's nose is also very sensitive. Now is not the time for you to lose your temper. Yin Xiang shouted to the Kurama. Bastard, do you want Lao Tzu to help you smell like a dog? Kurama shouted to Yin Xiang. If you don't help me, I will throw you out and let you fend for yourself. In Xiang also threatened the 9 llamas directly. You kid is too much. Although the Kurama said so, he still jumped out of In Xiang's body. Now the Kurama's body is as big as 2 stories. Hurry up and help me. I don't know if it will be okay to drag Ino down. In Xiang jumped directly on the head of the Kurama and shouted, "If you dare to talk about this in the future, I will kill you even if I die with you." Kurama shouted to In Xiang in dissatisfaction and then began to search for the smell of Ino on the ground. And it didn't take long for Kurama. I found the direction and ran quickly in that direction. Running all the way to the entrance of a cave, Ku Lama disappeared and returned to In Xiang's body. In Xiang also fell steadily on the ground, then pulled out the Queenie lei from his waist and walked in with Queenie lei in his back. Inside the cave, there is light in the cave, not darkness. There are torches burning inside. Proves that there must be humans, not ghosts. In Xiang went all the way to the depths of the cave and saw the villagers in the cave. They were all tied to the pillars in the cave. Their arms and legs were tied, and their mouths were blocked. Seeing In Xiang walk in, they all struggled as if they had seen the Savior. A total of 8 people were tied up. In Xiang untied everyone's ropes. They ran out of the cave quickly. Only a middle-aged man remained. "Are you a ninja from Konoha?" "Why a child?" He looked at In Xiang and said. In Xiang frowned. "Then you are Ping Hao." In Xiang looked at the middle-aged man and asked, "Did you see my partner being arrested? Also, who is that monster?" End of this chapter. Chapter 105, Kirikin's Rebellion. Chapter 105, Kirikin's Rebellion. That monster is actually a human being, a ninja named Shido. That is his ability called Shueji Bienjia. But I really didn't expect Konoha to send 2 children to perfunctory us. You better go quickly, you is not his opponent. Ping Hao looked at In Xiang nonchalantly and said, "You don't have to worry about it. Where are they?" In Xiang also just glanced at him and said, "Behind. Don't say I didn't warn you." Ping Hao ran out after speaking. In Xiang also approached the back of the corner of the cave with a knife. There was an iron gate behind it. In Xiang approached the iron gate. Only then did I hear Ino's shouts coming from the iron gate. "Let go of me. Let me go. Help, help." Ino's voice came from the iron gate. "Isn't that bastard?" In Xiang was stunned for a moment. Yes. After all, Ino is so good-looking. This Shido will definitely do something to Ino. In Xiang hurriedly punched the iron door. Tsunade's strange power is not a vegetarian, and the entire iron gate was smashed to the ground. Ino. In Xiang ran in and looked at the surrounding situation. Ino was shrinking in the corner with a look of horror. There were many skulls floating around in front of her. "It's not that." In Xiang picked it up, raising an eyebrow. "It doesn't seem to be the situation I imagine myself." In Xiang. "Help!" Seeing In Xiang coming, Ino hurried over to In Xiang. The skull followed closely behind Ino, and Ino suddenly fell into In Xiang's arms. Chidoryu. In Xiang also hugged Ino and used Chidoryu to force back the floating skulls. "It's all right, Ino. Where is Shido?" In Xiang looked at Ino in his arms and said, and then let go of the hand holding Ino. But Ino seemed to like this feeling very much, hugged In Xiang tightly and refused to let go. I don't know, when I woke up, I was the only one, and there were skulls everywhere. Ino Drill said in Xiang's arms. Yeah. At this moment, the strange laughter came from the room again. Xiang also immediately became alert. All the skeletons on the ground floated up from the ground and collided with Xiang and Ino. Xiang and Ino jumped to the top of the cave, dodging the skeletons, which slammed into the wall. All in pieces. "Don't you dare to come out and show your face, Shido." Xiang came down from the top of the cave, looked at the surrounding firelight, and said, and then patted Ino on the shoulder lightly. If she continued to entangle herself, it would affect her battle. Well, Ino also came out of Xiang's arms, and then took out Kunwu to guard the surrounding area. So this guy really took advantage of the opportunity. "Know my name?" "That guy Ping Hao told you." Shido's voice echoed in the cave, making Xiang unable to determine Shido's location at all. "Ino, you go out first. I'll come alone." Xiang said to Ino. Ino's presence really hindered Xiang's hands and feet. But Ino still wanted to stay, and fight with Yin Xiang. Go quickly. Yin Xiang put his hand on Ino's head and rubbed it, and said in a gentle tone, "Okay." Ino was immediately tamed by Yin Xiang, and Pidian ran out of the cave. When Ino left, Shido didn't try to stop him. After watching Ino safely disappear in front of his eyes, he took Queenie back to his waist. "Since you don't come out, don't blame me for being rude. It hurts." Yin Xiang ruthlessly smashed the ground with one foot. The whole cave shook, and then the ground beneath Yin Xiang's feet collapsed suddenly. Then Yin Xiang jumped up from the ground and punched the top of the cave with a strange force. The whole cave began to collapse, and Yin Xiang also jumped out of the hole. A black figure also jumped out of the cave. Damn, what a mess. A man with a pale face and a very weak body jumped out of the cave, standing on the top of the rock in rough clothes, as if it took him a lot of effort to jump out of the cave. No wonder. Looking at the weak man in front of him, Yin Xiang smiled. No wonder he didn't do anything to Ino. It turned out that he couldn't. "What's the matter with your smile?" "Damn it." Shido looked at Yin Xiang's smile and shouted at Yin Xiang, "It's almost the last step. You Konoha people are really nosy. You're probably not a bloodline limit. You can control the skull to float up, but it's just a very fine control of the wind. And that fog, it's just an ordinary fog concealment technique. I use a big breakthrough after blowing away. You blew it back with a big breakthrough. As for the grimace that controlled Ino, it's just an illusion because we thought it was an illusion at first, so we ignored this and used illusion, wind, and water." Yin Xiang thought of the technique of hiding fog, and the distance between the country of Jieji and the country of water is also very close. In fact, this person is very weak, but he has some attainments in the control of the wind. "Damn it. I've already gathered all the 9 people I need for the spell. As long as the spell is written on her body, the blood-devouring technique will be successful. You Konoha ninja." Shido's body, he floated up and rushed towards Yin Xiang. What a joke. Yin Xiang threw his fist at Shi Teng's head, which was flying over, and smashed Shi Teng into the pile of stones under Yin Xiang's feet. He lost consciousness and rolled his eyes. A mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. Although he didn't know what the blood-devouring regeneration technique he was talking about was, if it needed 9 living people, it would definitely not be a good technique. "Yin Xiang, it's all right." Ino jumped from below to the pile of rocks and stood beside Yin Xiang looking at the corpse under Yin Xiang's feet. "It's all right." Yin Xiang dragged the corpse out of the pile of stones, then threw it below and jumped down with Ino. Then the mission is completed. What he just said? What kind of ninjutsu is that? Ino heard Toto's roar from below. It's a forbidden technique that uses a special technique to absorb the blood and cells of 9 people, and then restores all damage to his body. Ping Hao walked out from behind a pile of ruins and said, "There is such a power. Who are you?" Ping Hao looked at the demolished cave and said to Yin Xiang, "Me? It's just a child of Konoha. After the task is completed, we will leave." Yin Xiang kicked the corpse in front of Ping Hao and then left with Ino. "A child of Konoha." Ping Hao looked at the backs of Yin Xiang and Ino and muttered to himself. End of this chapter. Chapter 106. Yin Xiang's Thoughts. Chapter 106. Yin Xiang's Thoughts. The blood-devouring technique of rebirth. If this technique is used on Juema Lu, will his body be fine? Yin Xiang thought of this question as he walked. But if this forbidden technique is used, then I will be the same as them. Yin Xiang shook his head. Although Juema Lu's injury is getting better and better because of the 9 tails, if he wants to fully recover, the 9 tails can't be done. Now, there is an art that can give Juema Lu a new life. Yin Xiang thought about it and stopped again, then looked back at the village. "Ino, wait for me." Yin Xiang said to Ino. "Huh? Good." Ino nodded, and then Yin Xiang returned to the place just now, where Ping Hao was carrying Shido's body. "I ask you, does that forbidden technique have a scroll?" Yin Xiang came behind Ping Hao and asked. "Hey, it scared me to death. When did you come?" Ping Hao was startled by Yin Xiang's sudden appearance. "Why do you want this scroll?" "This forbidden technique has to be brought back to Konoha to deal with," Yin Xiang said to Ping Hao. "Oh, that's it." Ping Hao nodded. "Here, I just took it out of him." Ping Hao took out a black scroll from his arms and handed it to Yin Xiang. In Xiang nodded. Nodding, thank you. After In Xiang finished speaking, he disappeared in front of his eyes instantly. Black Flash? Could that kid be Konoha's Black Flash? Ping Hao's eyes widened. In Xiang also returned to Ino's side. Let's go. In Xiang said. You, why did you go? Ino said, looking at In Xiang, who suddenly appeared. Huh? It's okay, find something. In Xiang smiled. Let's go back to Konoha. Well, Ino nodded, looked at In Xiang's back walking in front, and then ran up to grab In Xiang's arm. In Xiang, shouldn't you want to learn that art? Ino didn't either. What a fool. They have seen Juema Lu's illness for more than a year. In Xiang and Juema Lu have the best relationship. Over the past year, they have tried their best to treat Juema Lu, and even Tsunade can't help Juema Lu's disease. Of course, they only know that Junmalu is seriously ill, and they don't know what kind of disease Junmalu is and how he survived for more than a year. No, why should I learn that? In Xiang shook his head and smiled, then walked forward without daring to look at Ino. Don't lie to me, Ino said to In Xiang. Don't lie to you, In Xiang nodded and said, and then the two stopped talking and walked to the port together. A week later, the two returned to Konoha. Finally arrived at Konoha. I didn't expect this task to take 2 weeks. Ino shouted at Konoha's gate. Isn't it because you want to stay outside for a few more days? In Xiang rolled his eyes and said, but this week has been very relaxed, and it was quite relaxing play with Ino. Okay, let's go back. Ino grabbed In Xiang's arm, pulled In Xiang, and ran into Konoha. Hokage building. The two of you are finally back. How is your mission? Tsunade said, looking at the two standing in front of him. The mission is completed. The opponent is a rebellious and ninja from Kirikin, a sick child, and it will be solved with 1 punch. In Xiang put the mission book in front of Tsunade and said, that's good. Konoha is not so busy now. You're still the same as before. Just stay with me. Take a day off, come tomorrow. Tsunade said to In Xiang. Okay. In Xiang nodded and left with Ino. Then I'll go back. Ino waved to In Xiang and said. In Xiang nodded. Okay. After separating from Ino, In Xiang also returned home. The first thing he did was to open the scroll, and he was with Ino along the way. In Xiang didn't have time to study the scroll. This technique is really dangerous. You need to find 9 living people, write the spell on their bodies, tie them to the pillar, and then draw the spell on their feet, and put the person to be performed on the ground in the middle of the spell, and then cooperate with Yuin to launch this ninjutsu. We'll take out all the lives of the 9 living people, and then the caster will repair all the damage to his body so that a dying person can be as good as before. Are you back? Junmalu opened the door and walked in through the door. In Xiang quickly put away the scroll and watched Junmalu hang the mask and cape on the wall. I just did a mission too. Come back. The task is much easier now. Junmalu stretched his waist and said, that's right. In Xiang nodded, just spending some time on the road. How are you feeling recently? I've been using the physical techniques I learned from Shaoli recently. If I don't use my blood, my body can still hold up. Junmalu smiled, then walked into the kitchen and poured a glass of water. It's fine. I should have found a way to cure you. In Xiang nodded and said, it's true, my disease is probably incurable. I can live as long as I can. We should be dead when we come. You rescue me and let me stay in Konoha. I'm very satisfied. Konoha's life and partners are the happiest things in my life. Junmalu was very optimistic about his own life and death. Don't say that. Don't you want to live such a good life forever? In Xiang looked at Junmalu and said, I think so. Junmalu nodded. I can't live with you all my life and rely on you to support me all my life. Junmalu sat in front of In Xiang and said, besides, you also want to get married and have children. Can I still haunt you for the rest of my life? Don't worry. I said I will cure you, and I will cure you. In Xiang said, then you'll have to worry about it. Junmalu smiled, and In Xiang nodded with a smile. Announcement for the next episode. The ruins of the Inselo family appeared, and someone witnessed the descendants of the Inselo family? What? This person disappeared in an instant. Tsunade, because you have been exposed to this task, I sent you here. Next chapter, Inselo Ruins. End of this chapter, Chapter 107, Inselo Ruins. Chapter 107: The Ruins of Insolo. In the days that followed, In-seong also stood outside Tsunade's office every day. When he came home at night, he studied the scrolls. After keeping all these techniques firmly in his mind, he burned the scrolls. In-seong has 9 living people, and In-seong can use this forbidden technique to restore Junma-Lu's body. Senior sister, are there any prisoners to be executed in the prison? In-seong asked next to Tsunade. The prisoner to be executed? The prisoner who is about to die has already died on the battlefield. How can there be a death row prisoner? What do you want a death row prisoner for? Tsunade asked while processing the documents. Nothing, just ask casually. In-seong shook his head and said, Isn't it? Tsunade looked up at In-seong. You're not the kind of person who asks casually. It's nothing, In-seong said, without any change in his tone. Okay, don't do things that shouldn't be done. Tsunade knew that In-seong was a genius who invented ninjutsu, and also thought that In-seong might want to die for ninjutsu. So he reminded In-seong. Yeah. In-seong nodded and stopped talking. The matter of Junma-Lu was temporarily stranded by In-seong. Anyway, as long as he was around, there would be no problem in extending Junma-Lu's life for the time being. Bang, bang, bang. There was a knock on the door outside Tsunade, and Kai walked in with the 3rd shift. Seeing In-seong standing behind Tsunade, Yo, In-seong, you are here too. Only Kai said hello to In-seong. During the mission, my name is Ainen, In-seong said to Kai, and his emotions did not fluctuate in the slightest. It has been 3 months since the last time they saw Tion and the others. Except Kai, the 3 of them just watched Tion. In-seong glanced. Seeing In-seong every day, he will unconsciously approach Niji. In-seong can also see that their relationship is very good now. You guys are back. How is the mission? Tsunade looked at Kai and said, Of course it's done perfectly. Kai said with a thumbs up, revealing his big white teeth. Okay, you can go back to rest. Tsunade nodded and said, and the 3 of them left. Speaking of which, what happened to you and Ino? Tsunade looked at In-seong and said after they had left. In-seong was stunned for a moment. Don't. Try your best to match us. Ino is good, but I'm not in that mood right now. Really, you're not too young. When your father was as old as you, he lived with Kushina. Tsunade said with a smile. True or false? In-seong raised his eyebrows, suspecting that Tsunade was lying to him. When Minato and Kushina were his age, they were still fighting on the battlefield. Haha, just kidding, Tsunade said with a smile. I think Tion and Niji are fine together, so don't think about Tion anymore. No. In-seong shook his head. Of course I know that Tion and Ningxi are very happy together. In fact, Tion has always liked an EICI, and Ningxi also likes Tion, which is good. I'm a little confused about your young people's current view of love, so let's go with you. But Ino will mention you to me every day. Yeah. In-seong nodded, then said nothing until he went home at night, and then he repeated the life of these 2 points and lines. Until one day 2 months later, In-seong received a mission and found a ruin in the country of He, where the emblem of the Insolo family appeared, and it was suspected that someone from the Insolo family had appeared there. And the time is the last year or so. This mission was performed by In-seong and Junma-Lu together. The 2 had contact with the Insolo family, so they were still sent for this mission. The country of He is a place with good feng shui. It is surrounded by mountains and rivers, and the weather is beautiful all year round. The remains discovered by the Solo family are between mountains and rivers, the emblem of the Solo family. To this day, the Insolo family is no longer a secret among Umbu. Is this the ruins? In-seong and Junma-Lu stepped on the broken stones of the ruins and looked at the ruins in front of them. There was nothing left except the stones and wood. On the only remaining wall, engraved with the emblem of the Insolo family. In the past year or so, Umbu saw him wearing clothes with the Insolo family emblem. It does not rule out that he is a member of the Insolo family, nor does it rule out that he is not a member of the Insolo family. That Umbu only looked at a glance. That person disappeared, so this person is likely to use space ninjutsu. In-seong said, I still remember that you said that another person's name was erased on the contract scroll. Could it be this person? Junma-Lu nodded and said, I hope so. because he also frowned. Who is this person? The two walked into the ruins together and began to search in the ruins. This is the birthplace of the Insolo family. A voice suddenly came from behind In Xiang and Juanmalu. The two quickly ran out a distance with the shunshu technique, then turned to look at the place where the voice came from and became alert. In front of them, there appeared a man with long white hair, but he looked very young. On his forehead was a six-hook jade reincarnation eye, and his two eyes were a blue Tensei and a purple one. Reincarnation eye. These two eyes, one is the final form of the white eye, and the other is the final form of the Shirinyan. Seeing these things, In Xiang put down his weapon decisively. Even if he hit, he would be powerless to fight back. Are you Insolo? In Xiang frowned at him and said, "That's right." Insolo nodded. "You came a little early," Insolo said to In Xiang, and then a black hole suddenly appeared at the foot of Junmalu beside In Xiang. After Junmalu fell into the black hole, also disappeared. "You, don't worry, just go to another space, and when we're done talking, I'll let him back." Insolo walked to In Xiang step by step and said. In Xiang heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. "You also came from across, why?" "Not dead yet. Almost died." Insolo walked in front of In Xiang. "I'm from 2020, and I was thrown into the age of the six path immortals at once. I was a little panicked at the time. We haven't heard such a modern conversation for a long time. I'm still not used to it." In Xiang raised his eyebrows and said, "But that's not right. I'm not your reincarnation, so you should be dead." Preview for the next episode. You will have the strongest Tensei or Samsara Eye. You cannot refine chakra because there is a seal in your body. What happened on the night of Insolo's genocide? Insolo, the ancestor of the Insolo family, suddenly appeared. What changes will it bring? What? You're actually a thief. Next chapter. The ancestor of Insolo. End of this chapter. Chapter 108. The ancestor of Insolo. Chapter 108, The Ancestor of Insolo. What reincarnations are not reincarnated? It's just something like our chakra inheritor. You have my chakra, that's all. Insolo said to In Xiang, "I have a lot of questions to ask you." In Xiang said, looking at Insolo, "I also have a lot of answers waiting for you." Insolo smiled and said to In Xiang, "Both of them are transmigrators, and now it feels like a hit-and-miss feeling when they meet. Come here, sit down, and talk slowly." Insolo waved his hand, and in front of the two of them appeared a table and two chairs. The table was also filled with fruit, tea, and wine. In Xiang's eyes widened. "You just use your ability to do this? Why don't you destroy the world?" Insolo sat on a chair and poured the wine on himself. In Xiang really couldn't bear it when he heard this grandfather and grandson. He had already crossed over from 2020, so why did he travel to such a late time? And he traveled to the Six Path Immortals? In this era, what is even more irritating is that this guy is really his ancestor, and In Xiang also sat on the chair helplessly. "So on that enchantment scroll, is the other person you are?" In Xiang also poured himself a drink. "It's me, the kid Insolo Hen, who wants to cover up all my history and erase all my traces, but I can't be erased so easily." Insolo pushed aside the oranges on the table and went to said while stuffing his mouth, "Is it you who put the drug in that room too?" "Well, yes, it's me. You don't have to thank me too much. I just want to help you. I know that the beauty who sleeps in every second dimension is the wish of every traveler. The first one is Tion Tion. The next one is Eno. Isn't it already delivered to your door? Your boy is very blessed." Insolo said while eating oranges and drinking. "That's just your own wish." In Xiang raised his eyebrows helplessly. "Is there anything in this world that needs our intervention? I just want to live a peaceful life, but I feel like a big hand keeps me going push forward, so I can't go back. Look at my three eyes." Insolo pointed to his forehead. "If there is really nothing to interfere, how can I get these powers? I don't know if I should say that I am more fortunate than you or better than you. Unfortunately, when I was born, I had a white eye in my left eye, a white eye in my right eye, and an open eye with three hooks. The Sixth Path Immortal, that is, my father, gave me most of his abilities and made me awaken this eye again." Tianhu starts. "Aren't you invincible from birth?" In Xiang shouted as he looked at him with three eyes. "Yeah, I also strengthened Indra's limelight and created the method of using ninjutsu with the seal, But a genius is a genius, and those of us who have passed through can't compare. Indra used my seal to develop more and more powerful ninjutsu, so the power of Indra and Asura in that era is more than 10 times stronger than before, and I can only suppress them. Insolo sighed and said, "This is what I made myself. Evil. Then since you suppressed it, it will be fine. It's nothing, but I later found out that my descendant, Insolo Hen, is a transmigrator. He is an ambitious person who wants to use everything in the world he controls to control the ninja world with one hand, even with Yuji. The Bo clan competed with the Qiansha clan, and I had no choice but to kill him. It turned out that you killed him." In Xiang suddenly realized that Insolo Hen had died once, and it turned out that he was killed by Insolo. Yeah, but I didn't think that I would think that the ability of the mark can be borrowed from his 6-hook jade reincarnation eye. Someone transplanted his eye, and it became a new mark, but he doesn't have my kind. The ability to live immortally. You will die when you get old, and you will only live a few decades longer than ordinary people. If you had his eyes transplanted at that time, I would definitely kill you without hesitation. That's it. In Xiang was also in a cold sweat after hearing this. Fortunately, I have a habit of cleanliness. Your choice is correct. Since you are my descendant, you will have these pupil techniques sooner or later. Really, or not? If I had one, why didn't I have a white-eyed sketcher or something when I was born? You have purple eyes, Insolo said with a strange arc at the corner of his mouth. Purple? Purple pupil? Could it be the reincarnation eye? In Xiang was stunned for a moment, then reacted and said, "The possibility of Samsara Eye is not ruled out, but it is also possible that it is Tensei. Tensei has 3 types: purple, yellow, and blue. Among them, the purple one is the most powerful. Force contributed their own white eyes, and they merged countless white eyes into a spherical stone with a large tube wood pattern on it. When activated, this spherical stone will emit a purple light, condense chakra, and fire a shot at the enemy. A terrifying purple chakra light annihilated the members of the peaceful Otsutsuji clan. That is to say, your eyes may be the most powerful tennis eyes, or the reincarnation eyes, but they haven't awakened yet. But I still don't think I have any special abilities. You really thought that Wind Thunder Ninjutsu would be your special physique at first glance. Besides, you can't use Rachel without a good pair of pupils," Insolo said with a smile. "Speaking of this, I'd really like to know why I can't extract chakras with other attributes. You have a seal in your body, which your father gave you. After learning about Insolo's plan, he wanted to seal all your chakras, although Insolo's family uses wind and thunder ninjutsu. Famous, but of course chakras of other attributes can still be extracted. Your father wants to seal all your chakra attributes, but there is not enough time and the seal is flawed, so you can only extract wind and thunder, which can also be said to be very coincidence. But wouldn't it be too far-fetched to say that? It took me a long time to learn Spiral Pill, as well as enchantment, sealing, and the ninjutsu that touches the spell. Have you personally seen someone use these techniques or something?" Insolo glanced at In Xiang and said, "That's right. Then why didn't you come out to protect the Solo family when they were exterminated?" "Didn't I say it? I didn't expect this kid Hen to survive, so I was playing happily in another space. In that space, what do I want to do? There's a cross-generation vortex Mito, and so on. All of them are my wife, and the Senju family and the Uchiha family are all working for me." You thief. End of this chapter. Chapter 109, Junmaru's Refusal. Chapter 109, Junmaru's Rejection. Large pit filling sight. How did you talk? Insolo clapped the table and shouted, "That is the dream that came to the world. You understand the dream." Okay. You are amazing. I can't beat you. Whatever you say is right." In Xiang waved his hand helplessly and said, "What else do you want to ask? Hurry up and ask. After asking, I will go back to enjoy it. You won't see me again in a short time." Insolo said to In Xiang, "How can I wake up my eyes?" "It depends on luck." "Then how can I release the seal in my body?" "Untangled." Insolo stretched out his hand and poked In Xiang's forehead and said, In Xiang raised his eyebrows. "This guy is really casual. How powerful is he?" "Then what am I going to do in this world?" "It depends. Who is better between you and the six path immortals? Of course it's my father. Insolo said without hesitation. I'm just a mass of chakra in my body. If he wants my life and takes my chakra back, I'm a waste. You too? I took back the chakra I gave you. You're also a waste. It means I can't beat you in my life, let alone beat the six path immortals. You can't beat me for sure, but you don't necessarily beat my father. The chakra I gave you is the chakra I gave you, and the chakra he gave me was the chakra he gave me. It's different, but if you dare to take action against my father, I won't make it easier for you. Insolo said to In Xiang. After all, In Solo has also lived with the six path immortals for a long time, and he also regards the six path immortals as his own father. Of course, he will not tolerate In Xiang's actions against his father. I just asked casually, is I really the only one left in the Insolo family? From the time you smashed Hen's eyes, you and I were the only ones left in the Insolo family. If you have to count them, my father is also the Insolo family. You shouldn't teach me any ninjutsu, right? In Xiang asked cautiously. I don't know who it is. I shouted aggressively in the secret room that day. I have to rely on myself to obtain something or something. Insolo's eyes glanced at the air and said, which made In Xiang very embarrassed. Just come by yourself. In Xiang rolled his eyes. Anyway, he didn't expect him to teach him anything at first. There's nothing to ask. Let's go. In Xiang stood up and said, really gone. I can do whatever I want in this world, right? In Xiang finally asked. Yes, but if you try to destroy or cover the sky in this world, let alone me, my father will not let you go. Insolo said to In Xiang. If you asked, you didn't ask, let's go. In Xiang just wanted to let the play go soon. Okay. Insolo drank the last glass of wine, then waved his hand. A black hole appeared under the table. The table and chairs fell, and then the black hole disappeared and turned into a stone surface again. Don't tell others that you have seen me. Understand? A black hole opened in front of Insolo. Insolo said to In Xiang. Yeah, In Xiang nodded. Then Insolo also nodded and walked into the black hole. The black hole was closed, but opened again after 2 seconds. I forgot this. Insolo pushed Junmaru out of it and then closed the black hole again. Juema Lu was stunned from beginning to end, and after coming out, he looked at In Xiang with a dazed expression, indicating what happened. That's Insolo himself. Let's just pretend we haven't seen him before. Let's go back. In Xiang also said helplessly. How do you report back then? Juema Lu believed in In Xiang unconditionally. Let's just say I didn't find it. In Xiang said. Juema Lu also nodded, and the two returned to Konoha together. The distance between the kingdom of He and the kingdom of Fire was not very far, so the two used it took 2 days to return to Konoha. The two went to Tsunade's office together to explain the situation, and then went home together. Kumalu, I have something to tell you. In Xiang sat on the sofa and said to Juema Lu beside him. Well, what's the matter? Jummer nodded and said, you still remember I said that I found a way to cure your illness? In Xiang said, that time I went to Jieji with Ino and got a ninjutsu called Blood-Devouring Rejuvenation. I can heal you. It's not a good ninjutsu when you hear the name. Kumaro said after listening. Well, it's a forbidden technique. It takes 9 living people to write down the technique and then exchange their blood and cells into your body to repair all your damage. In Xiang nodded. I've been debating whether to use it for you or not. What? 9 living people? In Xiang, don't mess around. I will exchange the lives of 9 people for me. I won't agree. Juema Lu said excitedly after hearing this. If you must only in this way can I be cured, and I will die in front of you now. Juema Lu said, and took out the bone knife and placed it on his neck. Don't. In Xiang quickly snatched Juema Lu's bone knife. I'm not asking for your opinion. If you don't want it, then forget it. Juema Lu is a very kind person. If you know how to use this kind of ninjutsu, you will never let In Xiang use it on him. In this case, even if his illness is cured, he will live in another pain for the rest of his life. Don't have this thought, In Xiang. You can't let you do something wrong because of me. Juema Lu frowned and said to In Xiang, I am very satisfied now, from a person who stood up and acted by will. I'm very content with having so many friends and partners now that I can move my body freely and have so many friends and partners. Okay, I understand. In Xiang nodded. I'll find another way. There will definitely be a way to cure you. I know that my illness is incurable. Don't worry about it anymore. If you do this again, I will turn against you. Jiuma Lu said to In Xiang, who could only nod and sigh. Tone, Jumalu is too kind to be ruined by Kagaya clan and Orochimaru like this. This world has never been short of geniuses. Itachi Uchiha became Umbu at the age of 11, the captain of the Dark Army at the age of 13, and Kakashi became a Chunin at the age of 12. At the age of 5, he also became a Chunin. Sasuke and Naruto could fight Kagaya Otsutsuki at the age of 17, and there were many, many geniuses. And Junmaro is also the poorest among these geniuses. Preview of the next episode. There is another secret about the breakup of Tian Tian and In Xiang. Niji and Tian Tian are fake couples. Why should Tian Tian stay away from In Xiang? Next chapter. The mission of Tian Tian and In Xiang. End of this chapter, Chapter 110. The tasks of Tian Tian and In Xiang. Chapter 110. The tasks of Tian Tian and In Xiang. Under the strong rejection of Junmalu, In Xiang finally let go of this matter, which also made In Xiangxiao do a wrong thing. If In Xiang really insists on doing this, I am afraid that Yi has no place for him anymore. 3 months later, Tsunade was explaining the task to a man and a woman standing in front of him. This task has no manpower. Although there are not many tasks now, they're still more willing to go out and do tasks, so they can only let you two go. Tsunade sat at the desk, holding his hands together. The Chin said to the two in front of him, but one of them was Tian Tian. She bit her lip and looked at Tsunade, unable to say anything. In Xiang looked at Tian Tian next to him and sighed in his heart. I'll do this task myself. In Xiang said to Tsunade, and Tian Tian also glanced at In Xiang after hearing it, but In Xiangjing was serious looking at Tsunade. The other party specified that they need a female ninja. Only Tian Tian is here in the village, and Sakura has to help in the hospital, so only the two of you will go. Tsunade also looked at In Xiang and said seriously, whose mission is still so demanding, and it has to be female ninja and Umbu. In Xiang frowned and looked at Tsunade and said, in general, for this kind of mission, it is to protect a certain target, and this target must be also very special. Actually, it's not too difficult a task. Your task is mainly to protect secretly, and Tiantian's task is to take care of the baby. The target of the task is the child of the princess of the land of fire. Tsunade said, the child of the princess of the land of fire? In Xiang was stunned for a moment. I remember that the princess was married a year and a half ago with a fat prince from a neighboring country. If the child is almost 5 months old, well, their family has to go out for a few days and can't bring their children, so they entrusted this task. This is the task book. Let's go now. Tsunade threw the task book to In Xiang, and In Xiang also subconsciously took the task book. I see. In Xiang nodded helplessly, then turned to leave the office. Tian Tian hesitated for a while, then followed. After the two left, Kai came in through the window behind Tsunade. I hope the two of them can seize this opportunity. Youth is so exciting. Kai came to Tsunade and shouted. I said, isn't Tian Tian with Niji? Why do you ask me to do such a thing? Tsunade looked at Kai and said helplessly. Actually, Kai also became quiet, watching Tsunade explain. 5 months ago, when In Xiang just came back from the land of honey, Kai shouted that he wanted to rush to find In Xiang to vent his anger on Tian Tian. Now In Xiang has no task, so he doesn't have to worry so much when he comes out. Kai almost came close. He just kicked In Xiang on the back of the head and was pulled away by the three of them every day. When In Xiang looked back, there was nothing left. Mr. Kai, what are you doing? Tian Tian shouted to Kai from the bushes in the distance. What's the matter? Niji? Shaoli? Every day is fine. Why are you stopping me? Kai looked at the 3 people beside him with a confused expression. Really, what are you all doing? Tian Tian shouted at Kai and Shaoli. Your original plan has been disrupted, and now, except for me and Niji, you will be embarrassed when you see In Xiang. Plan? What plan? Kai raised his eyebrows and said, Mr. Kai, that's actually the case. Xiaoli also explained to Kai with a frown. At that time, Tian Tian found Ningxi and wanted Ningxi to help him and make Yin Xiang give up completely. In fact, Yin Xiang didn't have time to accompany her at all from the very beginning, and after the anger and sadness of not accompanying her on her birthday came to an end, he also realized here, Yin Xiang is different from her. Just as Tian Tian once told Yin Xiang, their identities are different and it is not suitable for them to be together. Moreover, Yin Xiang has no time to spend with her because of the task. The task is very important. So she also felt a little sorry for Yin Xiang, and she was wasting Yin Xiang's time. So he found Ningxi and asked Ningxi to pretend to compete with Yin Xiang for Tian Tian, and then released fake news that he was with Ningxi, so that Yin Xiang could do his task with peace of mind, and Ningxi agreed directly. Come down, although this would discredit Niji himself. But Niji is willing to sacrifice his own reputation for the sake of his friends. In the end, I didn't expect that when Ningxi went to find Yin Xiang, Xiaoli jumped out and stabbed his foot. Although he was stopped by Kai, he was taught a lesson every day. In Tian Tian and Ningji's plan, even if the three of them went together, they wouldn't necessarily hurt Yin Xiang too badly. As a result, Kai also jumped out and stabbed him. If Kai really made a move, then Yin Xiang I can't stand it. This is the naive idea of this little girl Tian Tian, but how could she think that Yin Xiang has always been worried about her? So that's it. Kai nodded after listening to Xiao Li's explanation. That's because I was impulsive. So Kai never went to find Yin Xiang after that. Tian Tian and Ningxi also released such fake news, thinking that Yin Xiang would be able to let go of himself. And he could let go of Yin Xiang slowly until he saw Ino that day, holding Yin Xiang's arm and walking out of the village. After the two looked at each other, Tian Tian realized that he was just lying to himself and that he couldn't let Yin Xiang go. Because Yin Xiang and Ino were together, Tian Tian had an urge to rush up and hug Yin Xiang to explain Yin Xiang, but was persuaded by Ningxi's hand. Tian Tian and Yin Xiang looked at each other and fell in their hearts. The noodles are 5-flavored and miscellaneous grains, but how can you imagine that every day Yin Xiang is also in the same mood? So is... Tsunade nodded. Haha, it's really a little girl's thought. If you have something to say, it's better to say it directly. Now it's getting more and more chaotic. Tsunade laughed, foreshadowing. From the beginning of the novel, it was said that Ningji didn't like Tian Tian, and he didn't even worry about Tian Tian at all. So they would not be together, and Ningxi would not say to Yin Xiang, "Since you don't like Tian Tian, return Tian Tian. Give me." Yin Xiang will be very worried when Tian Tian is injured, and the same is true for Yin Xiang's injury. The two get along day by day, year after year, and develop feelings for each other. So there is no such thing as Tian Tian said, because we have known each other for more than 10 years. I'm the only the person who knows you best outside of Kakashi-sensei, so I know we're not a good fit. Yin Xiang and Ino went out of the village together, met Tian Tian and others, and the two passed by and glanced at each other, which means that the two still have each other in their hearts. Every day, seeing Yin Xiang blocking the knife for himself, tears immediately flowed down and hugged Yin Xiang, almost collapsed. Tian Tian saw Yin Xiang being kicked out by the full moon of the ghost lamp and ran over to worry about Yin Xiang. Even after the full moon of the ghost lamp attacked her, Yin Xiang pushed her away. There are enemies behind. Tian Tian saw Yin Xiang standing behind Tsunade in the office and subconsciously leaned beside Ningxi. But Ningxi did not respond, which means that Ningxi did not care about Tian Tian's reaction after seeing Yin Xiang. I didn't realize my current couple relationship with Tian Tian. Yin Xiang and Ino stayed together for 2 weeks. Every time Ino took the opportunity to approach Yin Xiang, he would be gently pushed away by Yin Xiang. Compared with Yin Xiang, who used to look for ninjas to wipe their oil, Yin Xiang was naturally a newcomer. No, but now Yin Xiang gently pushes Ino away. It shows that Yin Xiang's heart is now full of days, and it will not be the same as before. So many foreshadowings. Have you found it? Preview of the next episode. In order to compensate you, I will give you a week off. Tsunade, hey, can you care about other people's feelings? Next chapter, mood swings every day. Please ask for a reward, ask for a monthly pass, asked for a recommendation, and asked for a reward for more than 2,888 plus 3 chapters. End of this chapter. Chapter 111. Mood swings every day. Chapter 111. Mood swings every day. Then see you at the door in half an hour. In Xiang said, looking at Tian Tian, who lowered his head and nodded, then left by himself. In Xiang looked at Tian Tian's back and sighed slowly. Then I went home and packed up my cutting tools. It was only a 2-day task, and I didn't need to bring so many things. Half an hour later, In Xiang was waiting at the door. After a while, Tian Tian walked slowly from not far away and then walked in front of In Xiang. Let's go. In Xiang looked at Tian Tian, so he walked ahead first and followed In Xiang not far or near along the way. This was only after In Xiang deliberately slowed down. If In Xiang walked at his usual speed, and I'm afraid he won't be able to see Tian Tian anymore. In Xiang is also helpless. This situation is really embarrassing. If the problem of the two people is not handled well, this task will probably be difficult to progress. After 3 hours of inking, the two of them walked the road that they could have walked in an hour and came to the palace of the princess of the Land of Fire, where they met the princess. The princess of the Land of Fire was also very beautiful, but after she fell in love with the prince of the neighboring country, she couldn't sleep every day, and then she turned grief and anger into appetite and fed herself fat, almost as big as that prince. When she was going on a blind date for the first time, she still asked a ninja to go on a blind date for her. At that time, Naruto and Ino came together, and they made a joke. I didn't expect that the prince really liked fat people, so Naruto and Ino were busy working in vain. After that, the two got married, and there were children left. That is, the two of them now have a baby in front of them. Hey, I'll ask you to help me take care of him in these 2 days. The princess looked at the 5-month-old baby lying in the crib and whispered, Nurse also wants to go with us, so I will trouble you. The baby is very good. Don't cry or make trouble. Just feed milk powder and change diapers every day. What a cute baby. Tian Tian also immediately got close to the baby, looked at the sleeping baby, and said softly, Then leave it to you. After the princess finished speaking, she left the room. In Xiang, who was wearing a mask, looked at Tian Tian, who was turned into a cute baby, and finally saw Tian Tian smile. The corners of In Xiang's mouth under the mask were also slightly raised, but In Xiang did not forget his mission, and his mission was to protect secretly. So In Xiang immediately jumped to the beam, lying on the beam and watching Tian Tian below. Even if there are not many female ninjas, Umbu has gone too. Besides, there are also many female ninjas in Umbu. Senior sister, where are you coming from? In Xiang looked at Tian Tian and thought in his heart that even if Tsunade could, he can fool Tian Tian, who lost his IQ because of something related to In Xiang, but he can't fool In Xiang, who has to keep his head awake all the time. Is it intentional? But Tian Tian and Niji are already together. I'm afraid you're wasting your time, senior sister. In Xiang, who didn't know Tian Tian and Niji were fake lovers, thought it was Tsunade again, trying so hard to find a wife. Tian Tian looked down at the cute baby at this time, and all his thoughts were taken away by the baby, and all the worries along the way were also forgotten by Tian Tian, which shows the charm of babies to women. It can also be seen that In Xiang's hidden skills are profound, and when he thinks of In Xiang every day, he can't find In Xiang anywhere. One afternoon passed while watching the baby smirk every day and In Xiang smirking at Tian Tian. During the period when the baby needed to change diapers, In Xiang couldn't help laughing when he saw Tian Tian, who was in a hurry, and was discovered by Tian Tian. In Xiang, who was in the position, was also rolled his eyes every day. You know how to laugh? But come down and help me. I have never done such a thing. Tian Tian looked at In Xiang and said, My task is to protect secretly. Isn't it your task to take care of the baby? In Xiang also said to Tian Tian, I don't care, come down and help me. Tian Tian shouted to In Xiang, It's too much trouble to change diapers. Okay. In Xiang jumped off the roof and took the diaper from Tian Tian's hand. The two people's fingers accidentally touched each other. Tian Tian only realized the current situation of the two of them, and the happy mood changed for a while. Become lost. Why are you happy? because Tian Tian just had a feeling of marrying Yin Xiang and having a child, and the two taking care of the child together. So I was a little excited for a while, and forgot the current relationship between the two until the two, when the eyes met and the fingers touched, Tian Tian wanted to say something to Yin Xiang, but suddenly Tian Tian reacted. Yin Xiang was also stunned for a moment, and then he still took the diaper out of Tian Tian's hand and went to change the baby's diaper. When I was a child, my nurse changed me a lot, so I learned it, Yin Xiang said while changing, and threw the changed diaper in the trash can. Do you remember things when you were so young? Tian Tian walked over to Yin Xiang and looked at the baby and said, "Yeah." Yin Xiang nodded. "I'm special." Tian Tian stopped talking. Yin Xiang stopped talking, and the two were embarrassed again for a while. And finally Yin Xiang first spoke. "You and Niji, how are you?" It's pretty good." Tian Tian wanted to tell Yin Xiang directly that he and Niji were all right. But after thinking about it for a while, he finally didn't say it. "Ah, that's good." Yin Xiang nodded. "What about you?" "You and Ino." Tian Tian looked at Yin Xiang and asked, "Ino, I have nothing with her. What you saw that day was actually just Ino trying to help me relieve the embarrassment after meeting you." Yin Xiang also looked at Tian Tian and said, "Ah." Tian Tian was stunned for a moment. "It turned out to be like this. I thought you and Ino were together. Ino is good, but not suitable for me," Yin Xiang said, raising his head to look at Yin Xiang every day, and the two of them looked at each other for a while. Looking at Yin Xiang's eyes under the black mask, Tian Tian was also a little confused for a while. Tian Tian was tempted by Yin Xiang's gentle eyes looking at her again. He vaguely remembered that he and Yin Xiang performed that S2 years ago. Yin Xiang also had this gentle look when he was giving medicine to himself when he was on a high-level mission. Yin Xiang, the feeling about himself has never changed. Today, I added a new chapter so that you can help me promote it when you read the novel. Then feel free to comment and comment in my comment area. I will be motivated if there are more people with good grades also. There is a foreshadowing post. Comment the foreshadowing you found below. You can read the next chapter in advance. Thank you. End of this chapter, chapter 112. Tian Tian is cuter than a baby. Chapter 112. Tian Tian, who is cuter than a baby. Then you'll be fine. Yin Xiang looked at Tian Tian and said, then turned around, ready to jump back to the roof. Tian Tian finally couldn't control his emotions anymore. Ran up and hugged Yin Xiang from behind. 2 tears flowed out of his eyes. "Tian Tian, you." Yin Xiang was taken aback by Tian Tian's actions. "Don't do this. I feel cold sweat all over." Niji seems to be staring at me with white eyes. Yin Xiang raised his eyebrows and said, "Yin Xiang, I really can't stand it. Under your eyes, I can't lie to myself like this anymore." Tian Tian cried while holding Yin Xiang's back. Yin Xiang looked at her with gentle eyes, breaking Tian Tian's last psychological line of defense. Tian Tian can't deceive himself anymore. "Ningji and I are not actually together. It's all fake. I just want you to do your own thing without caring about me." Tian Tian hugged Yin Xiang and said. Yin Xiang was stunned when he heard this, then turned around immediately, gently pushed Tian Tian away, grabbing Tian Tian's shoulders with both hands. "Really? Why are you doing such a silly thing?" I am," Tian Tian said, while wiping his tears with his hands. "I want to understand that you don't have time to spend with me, and I know that I shouldn't be forcing you so I think about breaking up with you. It's good for you." "Really? You're not such a stupid person." Yin Xiang stretched out his hand to help Tian Tian wipe away his tears, lowered his head and dared not look at Yin Xiang. "Didn't I say it all? What identity is not? I've always wanted to marry an ordinary wife and then spend my whole life peacefully with me. And you are so optimistic a girl. How can you be so pessimistic about this matter? But I just feel that I will drag you down. You're trained as a future Hokage. I am with you, and I will definitely drag you down." Tian Tian looked up at Yin Xiang and said with a crying voice, "What future Hokage? I have never thought of being a Hokage. I would at most be a Hokage assistant for them. Even if I give on Master Face, I won't do such troublesome things." Yin Xiang looked at Tian Tian and said, "Tian Tian, come back. Don't do this again in the future." Yin Xiang hugged Tian Tian and said, "Well, Tian also hugged Yin Xiang and rubbed his head in Yin Xiang's arms, enjoying this feeling very much. Um, um. The baby seemed to feel something, reached out and grabbed the air in the crib, closed his eyes and snorted twice, and then gave a milky laugh. Is he awake? Tian raised his head from Yin Xiang's arms and looked at the baby on the bed. It should be awake. Yin Xiang also nodded. Although he knew that the baby was awake, both of them were reluctant to let go of their hands and hug each other. But Yin Xiang quietly raised a hand, take off your mask. Then I'll go up. Tian turned around to talk to Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang kissed Tian's mouth immediately. Tian was startled, his eyes widened, and he felt the warmth on his lips, and after a while, Yin Xiang sighed, open your mouth. Tian didn't recover for a while. Although it was said that the two slept together that time, it was the first time Tian and Yin Xiang had kissed each other, and the only time they slept together was when they were drugged. Usually, Tian is really embarrassed. What are you doing? Tian regained his strength after a while and looked directly at Yin Xiang with a flushed face. There are children watching. It's okay, he can't see it again. Yin Xiang touched Tian's head and said, and Tian immediately turned his head blushing and went to play with the baby. Yin Xiang also went back to the roof and looked at Tian below, watching Tian, who was coaxing the child. Yin Xiang also wondered if his future life was like this. He took care of the children at home with Tian. The children were laughing, and Tian was laughing. Laughing every day. I am also laughing, of course, I will not live on the beam. I tried it very quickly in 2 days, and Tian also used these 2 days to explain her plan to Yin Xiang. In the whole plan, only the 2 masters and apprentices, Kai and Shaoli, were completely serious. Yin Xiang is also helpless, who made them father and son. The baby is really cute. Tian said happily, holding Yin Xiang's hand on the way back. Then you should have one. Yin Xiang said to Tian. You're teasing me again. Just let me have a baby at how old I am. Tian puffed up his cheeks and said to Yin Xiang, why are you so cute? Yin Xiang smiled and pinched Tian's bulging cheeks. Tian gasped out in one breath. I don't think you're much cuter than a baby. I hate it. Tian tilted his head and said with a smirk. The two of them fought and returned to Konoha all the way. Is this the so-called Zayabishing's newlyweds? The two came to the office together, and Tian's face was put on a smile again. Not as frowning as before, Tsunade could see at a glance that the two of them had resumed their relationship. How about it? Look at the two of you reconcile. Tsunade said to Yin Xiang and Tian. Thank you, senior sister. Yin Xiang nodded and said to Tsunade. Although he couldn't take off his mask, Tsunade could hear that Yin Xiang's voice was obviously much happier than before. You're welcome. Akai asked me to do this. Tsunade said with a smile. Mr. Kai, Tian shouted after hearing Tsunade's words. Akai looks careless, but in fact he has a very delicate mind. He knows that you can't let Yin Xiang go, and he doesn't want to see that you are so uncomfortable every day. When you came to the office to hand in tasks that day, Kai noticed Yin Xiang's my eyes are always on you. So please, let me arrange a task for the two of you and give you a chance to be alone. Tsunade explained it to Tian. It looks like this is the right choice now. Tsunade laughed. So that's the case. Tian nodded suddenly. I thought my eyes were well hidden. Yin Xiang also smiled, but he didn't expect that the eyes hidden under the mask would be visible to Kai. Okay. Let me make up for you and give both of you a week off, so you can have fun. Tsunade said to Yin Xiang and Tian. Really? Tian's eyes suddenly glowed, and he jumped on Yin Xiang's body happily. For Tian, Yin Xiang's time to be with her is the happiest thing for her now. Yin Xiang is also very happy to catch Tian and not let her fall to the ground. Hey, I said you two should also consider other people's feelings. Tsunade said helplessly. Did he do something wrong? End of this chapter. Chapter 113. The Return of the Naruto. Chapter 113. Naruto's Return. Yin Xiang. I like this kuna so much, you buy it for me. Tian looked at a delicate kuna in front of a ninja shop and said, this kuna looks very special. Okay. Yin Xiang naturally nodded happily and buried this kunai for Tian. He was very happy to hold the kunai in his hands. Other girls like flowers, beautiful jewelry, and clothes. Different from them every day, I have liked all kinds of ninja tools since I was a child. The two of them walked together on the streets of Konoha. Although they were just pressing the road, this was what the two of them had been looking forward to for a long time, and it was the best for them. Tian Tian, In Xiang, Xiao Li, and Ning Xi walked in front of him. Xiao Li saw Tian Tian holding In Xiang's arm and looked confused. Didn't he say that he would never look for In Xiang again? Ning Xi saw the two were stunned for a moment, and then they understood, with smiles on their faces. We've made up, Tian Tian said to Xiao Li. Really? That's great. Xiao Li shouted happily after hearing this. It's good if you can reconcile. Niji laughed aside. Thank you for helping me, Niji. Tian Tian also smiled at Niji. You too. Next time you dare to hide it from me, be careful that I'm being rude to you. In Xiang rolled his eyes at the two of them and pointed at them. Ningji, have you ever rolled your eyes at me? Huh. What are you talking about? We have something to hide from you. Xiao Li began to act stupid, saying that he didn't know anything. Let's go quickly. There are still many places we haven't been to together. Tian Tian also hurriedly rounded up Xiao Li, dragging Xiang, and ran away. It's more comfortable to see the two of them getting along well, isn't it, Ningxi? Xiao Li said to Ningxi, looking at Tian Tian, pulling In Xiang to run away. But Ningxi looked at the backs of the two of them. Days. Ningxi. Seeing that Ningxi ignored him, Xiao Li turned to look at Ningxi, but found that Ningxi was in a daze. Huh? Niji finally recovered and looked at Xiao Li. What's wrong? I mean, it's great that the two of them can reconcile. Xiao Li repeated what he just said. Yeah. Niji nodded. Let's go. After Niji finished speaking, he walked forward first. Duh. Xiao Li also nodded and followed. In Xiang and Tian Tian went to restaurants all over Konoha and had a good day. In Xiang also bought Tian Tian a lot of things that Tian Tian liked. They were all sticking together, and everyone in Konoha knew about the two of them and was happy for them. Ino was furious when he found out. He originally thought that after doing the task with In Xiang, the relationship between the two was sublimated. In Xiang still touched his head, but now I think about In Xiang letting him go. She definitely won't leave. In order not to let her get in the way, In Xiang used the trick of a handsome man, arouse his attributes, and let him go out obediently. But In Xiang's family has Jiu and Ma Lu, and Tian Tian's family as parents. So the two cannot live a life without shame and impatience. And after that, In Xiang also resigned from the position of the Dark Department. In Xiang's Dark Department captain did not understand very much. With In Xiang's current strength, he can take over his position and become the new Dark Department captain. In fact, Jumalu also has such strength, but Jumalu's ninjutsu is single and special, so he cannot hold this position. Kuma Lu himself prefers the life in Umbu, and did not quit Umbu with In Xiang. In Xiang, who has left Umbu, has more time to be with Tian Tian, but although In Xiang does not take the task, Tian Tian's class still has to take the task. So every time In Xiang goes with Tian Tian class to perform a task, there are 3 Shangnin and 2 Chunin in a class, which can be said to be very lethal, almost invincible. 5 months later, Tian Tian and In Xiang were walking on the street of Konoha, only to meet Naruto standing high on a telephone pole. After 2 years and 6 months, Naruto finally came back. Everyone, my Whirlpool Naruto is back. Naruto shouted while standing on the telephone pole, attracting the attention of Tian Tian and In Xiang. The two looked up and saw Naruto above and Zizi standing below. Come also. Uncle Jiraiya, you are back. In Xiang said to Jiraiya under the telephone pole. Oh, it's In Xiang. Zilai also saw In Xiang lie, with a big smile on his face. I'm back. Naruto caused you trouble. I'm really sorry. In Xiang is about to exercise his responsibilities as a brother at this time, and he wants to apologize to those who were troubled by Naruto. Haha, it's all small problems, small problems. Zilai also waved his hand and said indifferently, Hey, Naruto! He shouted at the telephone pole. Naruto looked down and saw In Xiang and immediately jumped down happily. Yo, long time no see, In Xiang, Tian Tian. You've grown a lot taller, you boy. In Xiang patted Naruto on the shoulder and said, he is only a little taller than Naruto now, Both of them are about the same height. Of course, it's not just my height that grows taller, but also my strength. You are definitely not my opponent now, Naruto said with a smile. Yeah, I'm quite confident, In Xiang said with a smile. This kid is true. He's not the only one growing up. He has also developed new ninjutsu over the years. Naruto? Is it Naruto? Sakura saw In Xiang from not far away and ran over, followed by the Konohamaru trio. When did you come back, Naruto? Sakura walked up to Naruto and said, Just got back, long time no see, Sakura. Naruto walked up to Sakura and said, then smiled. You're already taller than me. Sakura looked at Naruto and said, Naruto was about the same height as Sakura before, but now it's much higher than Sakura. But this is a matter of course. Oh, Naruto looked at the height of himself and Sakura before he noticed. Really? Unknowingly, he has grown a lot stronger. Sakura looked at Naruto and said, Well, am I also a little feminine? Sakura looked at Naruto and said with a blushing face, Nothing, you haven't changed at all. Naruto said to Sakura with a thumbs up. Pucci. Tian couldn't help but burst out laughing, and In Xiang laughed after hearing that. Sakura raised her eyebrows after hearing this, and turned her body to one side with a hum. Huh. Naruto didn't realize what he said. End of this chapter. Chapter 114. The only ninja Naruto at the same level. Chapter 114. The only ninja Naruto at the same level. Brother Naruto. Konohamaru called Naruto from the side, and Naruto turned to look at Konohamaru. With a touch, Konohamaru used a seduction technique and turned into a plump woman with a bulging front and back. Jiraiya's blood vessels swelled as soon as he saw it, and his eyes widened. You are not allowed to look. Tian hurriedly covered In Xiang's eyes to prevent In Xiang from looking. How's it going? It's pretty plump. And coquettish. Konohamaru said to Naruto back to her original appearance. Bastard, didn't I say you can't do this anymore? In Xiang shouted, punching Konohamaru in the head. Although the 3 generations took care of Konohamaru, the kid Konohamaru is completely a Naruto too, completely disobedient. Konohamaru, I'm no longer a child, so don't play that kind of ninjutsu. Naruto smiled and said. Konohamaru was stunned after hearing that. It seemed that only Naruto was the only one. He only listens to what people say. Just when everyone thought Naruto finally had some growth. Your ninjutsu is too hot. Look at it carefully. My newly developed ninjutsu. New seduction. Naruto clenched his fist and shouted, Come on. Bump. Sakura smashed Naruto's head with a punch. You big idiot. Naruto flew far away in a flash. Xiao Ying walked over and grabbed Naruto from the ground, grabbed Naruto by the collar and shouted, I haven't seen you for more than 2 years, and you've just seen your nature for 2 minutes. Where am I going to put that bright and moving youthful feelings for you just now? That kind of aura and that kind of weird power is just like Tsunade too. Jiraiya said silently in his heart after seeing it, thinking of how he had been abused by Tsunade before. His face twitched. Sure enough, Sakura hasn't changed, and it's even more violent than before. Naruto, who was swayed wildly by Sakura, thought of this in his heart. Really, it's still as messy as before. Tian looked at the two of them and said, Isn't this Naruto? In Xiang said with a smile. Let's go. They should report to senior sister. Let's eat Yao Ramen. Okay, eat Yao Ramen every day. Tian nodded helplessly. In Xiang finally realized how much this guy loves Yao Ramen, and it was the same type every time. Actually, In Xiang eats ramen. On the one hand, he loves to eat ramen, and on the other hand, it is also a kind of commemoration for Jixina. After that, Jiraiya also brought Naruto and Sakura in Tsunade's office. And this time Tsunade arranged for Naruto and Sakura to be tested for their strength after more than 2 years of training, which is Kakashi. They're going to challenge the Bell fight again, only this time without Sasuke. At the same time, Sandine Village was also being watched. Akatsuki's Red Sand Scorpion and Deidara were already near Sandine Village, ready to attack Gaara. Naruto and Sakura, who left Tsunade's office, were walking down the street with Shikamaru and Temari. Naruto, who originally thought Shikamaru and Temari were dating, wanted to go over to eat a melon, but Shikamaru was only welcoming the people from Sandine Village. The messenger, Temari, arranged the Chunin exam. Not only did Naruto not eat the melon, but Shikamaru mentioned the matter of the Chunin exam. Then how do you prepare, Naruto? Shikamaru asked, suddenly looking at Naruto. Huh? What? Naruto returned strangely. What? The Chunin exam? You are the only one who hasn't become a Chunin at our level. Naruto fell into silence for a moment, then exploded and shouted. Hey! Then, that's Sakura. Are you already a Chunin? Naruto looked at Sakura next to him and shouted. Hey, yes. Sakura said with a smug smile. By the way, In Xiang became a Jnin and joined Umbu 2 years ago. Although he has quit Umbu now, I heard that his strength is enough to become the captain of Umbu, as well as Niji and Junmaru, Sasha. Hidden Kankuro and this person are already joining. Shikamaru pointed to Temari next to him and said, Naruto was even more excited after hearing this, but suddenly thought of something. Then what about Gaara? What about Gaara? Gaara is now the Kazekage of our Sandine village. Temari said to Naruto. Really, Gaara has become Kazekage. After hearing this, Naruto gradually calmed down and clenched his fists. It's amazing, I can't lose to him. Be sure to become Hokage. Just wait and see Gaara. Naruto pointed at the statue of Hokage Rock and said. Jiraiya also met Kakashi and told him about Akatsuki, and Akatsuki's organization became active. After In Xiang and Tian finished eating, they continued to walk on the street and met Naruto and Sakura again. After hearing that In Xiang's strength was already at the level of Umbu's captain, Naruto was also very excited and ran to in front of In Xiang. I heard that your strength is very strong now. Naruto shouted to In Xiang. In Xiang was stunned for a moment and then reacted, it's okay. In Xiang nodded and did not deny it. But the matter of the superior Dark Army commander was not passed on by In Xiang. It's because other people have become more and more famous, and with In Xiang's current popularity, it is no longer suitable for Umbu. By the way, why are you two together all the time? Naruto looked at In Xiang and Tian and said, Really, have you forgotten? When you left 2 years ago, Tian was already my girlfriend. In Xiang pouted and said, hearing that he was In Xiang's girlfriend Tian 2 years ago. Thinking of the strength they have experienced this year, Tian subconsciously clenched In Xiang's hand. In Xiang, who felt Tian's mood swings, turned his head and touched Tian's head, making Tian feel at ease. That's it, sorry. Seeing Naruto like this, he really forgot about this. Then what are you going to do now? In Xiang looked back at Naruto and asked, We're going to play against Kakashi-sensei to test the results of the 2 years of practice. Do you want to come together? Naruto said that he was also very excited about this topic. I won't go, just work hard. Although you are all stronger now, it's best not to underestimate big brother Kakashi, or you will suffer. In Xiang said with a smile. Just look, I will definitely defeat Kakashi-sensei this time. Naruto shouted very confidently. Then it seems that you have made a lot of progress in the past 2 years. Tian also said to Naruto. Of course. Naruto laughed. Okay, let's go, I can't wait. Sakura also urged, and the two left together. Preview of the next episode. Defeated Kakashi? Intimacy is his weakness. The Shao organization is attacking. In Xiang is still sleeping in a daze, supporting tasks, S rank. Next chapter, support Sandine Village. Ask for a reward and a recommendation. End of this chapter, Chapter 115, support Shine Village. Chapter 115, support Sandine Village. After Naruto and others separated, In Xiang and Tian also went home separately, and they just came out for lunch. Naruto and Sakura and Kakashi fought from noon to night, and Jiraiya and Tsunade were watching the battle. After all, it was a test for their apprentices, and they also wanted to see what their apprentices could do in actual combat. Level. In the end, the two still took advantage of Kakashi's weakness in wanting to read books. Naruto spoiled in advance, so Kakashi had to block his ears, and closed his eyes in order not to read lips. Naruto's trick was successfully taken away by the bell. However, after that, Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi, under the command of Tsunade, formed Kakashi Band. After that, the two and Kakashi performed tasks together, not as masters and students, but as equals as a ninja and perform missions together. Naruto, who came home, also found on the table the birthday present that In Seong had prepared for him in the past 2 years. For Naruto's birthday present, In Seong has never stopped for 17 years. Because In Seong has been cleaning Naruto's room, so when Naruto comes home, the room is very clean and tidy. After so many years, who is doing this kind of thing? Naruto is now starting to think about this, but he has no clue at all. When they were happy here, there was already a battle in Sandine Village. Gaara was fighting Deidara, who was flying in the air, and the ninjas in Sandine Village couldn't attack Deidara in the sky at all, so they couldn't help at all. Can only watch Gaara and Deidara fight on it. Gaara is very strong, but Deidara is not a vegetarian. Although at first he thought Gaara's absolute defense fell into a hard battle, was seriously injured, and was forced to cut off one of his own arms. Deidara has a strong combat analysis ability. After being forced to cut off his arm, he also had some understanding of Gaara's sand, and understood that the sand that Gaara used to chase was different from the previous sand, in terms of speed and quality. Also much stronger than those sands. Since Gaara could not be attacked, Deidara turned the target to Sandine Village and attacked the village with his huge clay bomb C3. As long as this bomb fell, the entire village would be blown up. In order to protect the village, Gaara used a large amount of sand to cover the entire village and successfully blocked the bomb. The whole village was not hurt at all, but it was precisely because of this that Gaara was distracted and Deidara successfully hit the bomb. Chakra was exhausted and he was seriously injured. Gaara's sand could not be maintained and was successfully captured by Deidara. Although Sandian's ninja wanted to attack Deidara, they were still the same as at the beginning. Their attack was fundamental can't hit Deidara. Gaara was taken out of the village by Deidara, and Kankuro naturally chased after him. Although he was trapped by the trap left by the scorpion, Kankuro also made progress. Although he made progress, the situation going down, Kankuro also only saved 2 people, and then he continued to pursue. Sand Hidden immediately sent someone to follow up, and then had someone inform Konoha. It was already the next morning when the news from Sandine arrived at Konoha, and in the same way, Kankuro caught up with Deidara and Scorpion the next morning. Today is also the first mission for Kakashiban, so he came to Tsunade early in the morning to pick up the mission, and he happened to meet someone from the code class who cracked the code and brought the urgent letter from Sandine. I heard that when there was an accident in Era, Naruto was of course obliged, so Tsunade asked Naruto and others to support Sandine Village. At this time, Kankuro was also seriously injured by the scorpion, and he was poisoned by the scorpion. Even if Kankuro was lucky, the first wave of support was Kakasaban, and Sakura was still Tsunade's apprentice. To die there. 2.5 days later, Naruto's group arrived at Sandine Village. At this time, everyone in Akatsuki's organization had begun to extract the tailed beast from Gaara's body. In Seong, hurry up, it's not good. Early in the morning, before In Seong woke up, the door was constantly knocked and shouted. Well, In Seong opened his eyes in a daze and sat up from the bed. Juma Lu opened the door for Tian. In Seong immediately heard Tian's voice because he was still obsessed. Confused, In Seong asked Juma Lu to open the door, but there was no response. In Seong rubbed his eyes only to realize that Juma Lu had already gone to Umbu to stand by. So In Seong went to open the door by himself. In Seong, don't go to sleep. Something big has happened. Tian kept knocking on In Seong's door and said, "Come here." In Seong shouted while running to the door, putting on his clothes at the same time, then opened the door and saw Tian with an anxious face at the door. What happened, Tian? Gaara was captured by an organization called Shao, and Naruto and the others have already gone to support him first. Master Tsunade asked us to support him and set off immediately. Tian said anxiously to In Seong. In Seong became energized after hearing this. Wait for me. I'll change clothes and leave right away. In-seong ran back to the room after saying that, then washed his face and rinsed casually. Rinse his head with gargle water casually, and then put on his clothes and run out. The whole process.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.